freshman, a legend in the plans. Please listen every day to the showcase. The opinions and knowledge that anyone can take. Showing you how it is done. Proving I am number one, what a legend becomes. This is now my time to show you that I am here. This podcast just to make it loud and clear. By the fans, for the fans. Not many whose head can understand everything pro wrestling. It can never be you. Listen to the podcast here for the people. The best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin. The opinion and the lesson. Yes.
Folks, welcome to Everything Pro Wrestling. Everything Pro Wrestling is a show by the fans, for the fans. I am your host, Conrad Cushman, joined once again by my brother from another mother, Mr. Bryan Williams. Bryan, how are you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing good, brother. I gotta say, man, your introductions are the best ever, man. I think I look forward to your introductions every Tuesday than anything else.
That's all I'm good for, honestly. They're here for you. These people are here for you in the chat. Shout out to everybody who was patient enough to wait for us. We had some technical difficulties on my side, so I apologize for that. Skype was acting up, and if you guys see me in the beginning of the video and I'm looking weird, it's because this YouTube studio takes so long for it to like pop up. And if you're listening to audio, we thank you too. But enough of me jibber jabbering. Let's get into the intro of my man Montezzi.
Everything pro wrestling, they can never be you. Listen to the podcast here for the people. The best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin. The opinion and the lesson. Yes, everyday pro wrestling, they can never be you.
I must say, I never get tired of hearing that theme. Never ever get tired of hearing it.
That's a banger right there. I like that too.
Man. But thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We are going to be talking WWE video games once again. This is actually kind of the last part of us talking about the video game portion. And Bryan is so kind enough to come back next week with questions. So keep your eyes peeled on the Twitter page and the Facebook group. And you guys will be able to ask some questions for the show next week. So it's going to be awesome. So anything that we've missed and you want an answer to, we can hopefully provide one to you. Don't start asking anything about what he's working on. He ain't going to tell you. So I'm just letting you guys know that now. But I appreciate everybody who is taking time out to show up for this. Let me give a quick...
Yeah, same here. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I mean, you can ask me. They can ask me about what I'm working on, but they just won't be satisfied by the answer that I give. But by all means, you could ask.
I'm trying to make sure you don't get disappointed. But let's see here. Mark Goldman Plays, thank you for being one of the first people. You were in there before the show even started, so shout out to you, Mark. I appreciate you. I'm worried about those 10 questions you said you had for me, though, all of a sudden, but we'll see if we can answer some of them beforehand. Original Biggie, what's going on, Obi-Wan? I got your questions from last week. Brother's memory still good. Shout out to my mom for making me play Old Maid and all that stuff. Probably helped with the brain a little bit, so I remember I got your 2 extra questions this week, Biggie. And I know you sent some more in. What is going on, Foul Original? What is going on, Foul? Another brother from another mother on YouTube. Make sure you guys check out Foul stuff as well. And Mark said that intro is fire. Thank you so much, guys. Listen, yes, tonight's about Bryan once again. Like this has been like therapy for him. This has been.
No, it's about us, brother. It's about us.
Listen, they're here for you. I'm a realist when it comes to this. A lot of people came here for you. Oh, I'm sorry, Marlon. I missed you too. Marlon Anthony in the house. What's good? King, I see you in the chat. What's up, brother? Yeah, this is about you, Bryan. Like, I really want to talk about your time at YUKE'S and kind of get into the nooks and crannies of this. My notes for 16, 17, 18, 19, it's really not that big. It's just going to be kind of like personal thoughts that I had about some of the stuff. And other than that, man, we are going to get it in. Rob, what's going on, brother? Rob in the house as well. So I'll be pulling that stuff up. But B, let's talk. Let's talk some 2K. Let's talk 2K16, bro. I call this the year of Austin.
Yeah. Okay.
When I see it, I think of the broken glass on the cover. As soon as we saw that little piece of it, I was like, yo, it's Stone Cold, bro. Stone Cold's on the cover. Gotta be. He's the only dude who would represent broken glass. And lo and behold, it was Stone Cold Steve Austin on the cover of the game. But I guess before we get into that, do you want to talk about how you transitioned into YUKE'S?
Yeah, sure. Um, I've never really talked about this for. I think I've always just said, as I left 2K, went to UKE'S. It was so I joined UKE'S in officially February of 2015. And so I'll try to make it short. But during development of 2K15, so that'd be the year 2014. I was at 2K, working on 15. I had a death in the family during passed away in April 2014. Suddenly, it was an unexpected death. So, and she was living in Denver at the time. So, I left the project. I was gone for about 2.5 months, grieving and taking care of life shit, things that I never thought about when someone that you love passes away. It's like it's much more than just grieving the loss. There's actual business you have to take care of. So I had to move out her apartment, and it was an ordeal. So I came back. I've always questioned myself for coming back maybe as early as I did, if I was maybe disrespecting my mom by going back so soon. But my mom was always very proud of me and my career. And I felt that she wouldn't have wanted that for me, that she would have wanted me to go back and to continue to do what I do. So I did. And I was going to look it up earlier, but we mentioned it before, but there was that making of video for 2K15 that GameSpot did. And it showed us at the mocap studio with Cesaro and Paul Heyman, Pac, or Adrian Neville at the time, and Sami Zayn. So I came back. I think my first week back, I found out about that and went to mocap and did all that. And now I wasn't happy at 2K before I lost my mom. So you can imagine that when I came back, that unhappiness that I had, it was just like magnified. And I wasn't enjoying a lot of the people that I was working with professionally. Not to say anything about them, personally. It just wasn't a very healthy place for me at that time. And it ended up being that I was fired from 2K. I've never said that publicly, but they fired me, and the reason that I was shocked. I was happy because I was actually going to quit anyway. And I remember being in HR, with my boss. He walked me over there, and after the initial shock of me hearing that they're letting me go, I was like, well. I asked a question that anybody would ask. I was like, well, why? And it had nothing to do with my work. I remember my boss said, well, we just know that you're not happy here. So we're gonna let you go. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I got fired, and I reached out to Hiromi, who's my boss. He's the vice president of UKE'S, to see if I could join them. And she said, absolutely. And that's how that transition happened. And I was happy. I was like, I was away from 2K. I had a position with UKE'S. I was going to be able to move back to LA. So I was really on cloud nine. And then about 2 weeks after that, I was told about my hiring with UKE'S. I remember being told by my people at UKE'S that when 2K found out that I was going to UKE'S, that they tried to block it. They kind of threatened UKE'S to say, it'll damage the relationship if you bring on Bryan. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. I'm just letting you talk, brother.
Okay. So when I found that out, I was like, damn, why won't these people, why are they kind of fucking with me? But my boss, now Hiromi, she was like, look, they can't tell us who we can hire here, so we want you, and we're gonna hire you, so don't even worry about it. And so that's how the transition happened. Now, I will say that prior to me making the leap from 2K to Ukes, as it relates to 2K16, I was involved in the first mocap shoot for 2K16. It was in December of 2014, so that was like my final uh, mocap shoot that I directed. Um, and I kind of, helped lay some of the groundwork for 16. The reason that we ended up doing the Steve Austin showcase was because of me. That was like one of the last things creatively that I pitched before I got shit canned. And here's a cool little bit of trivia about the Steve Austin showcase, is that the idea for it, I got the idea from a buddy of mine. His name is Burt Belasco. He's an actor. He's most famous. He was on a sitcom on BET called Staying Together, or
Let's Stay Together.
something. Let's Stay Together. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you know it. So I had known Burt for a bit, and he was a really big wrestling fan, specifically WWE, and it was a real big fan of the game. So I met him at the gym, and we kind of hit it off. He found out what I did, and he was just like, "Bro, are you serious? You do the WWE games?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we kind of became friends, and it was during Thanksgiving of 2014. I came to LA to be with my family, met up with Burt. We had some lunch, and me and him were just chopping it up. And he's like the biggest Steve Austin fan that I've ever encountered in my life. And we were at Umami Burger. It's just like highfalutin kind of fusion burger place here in SoCal. And I'm listening to him just kind of wax on about his love for Stone Cold, and it got me thinking. It was like, man, for as important as Steve Austin is to WWE, was especially for the Attitude Era, I was like, it's amazing that we've never really done anything to kind of honor him and, for what he brought to the table. I mean, they won the Monday Night Wars because of Steve Austin. And so he gave me that, talking to him, he gave me that idea. And so I pitched it to the team and at 2K, and everybody thought, oh yeah, that's a great idea. So that's how this Steve Austin showcase came to be. So yeah, that's a nice little segue into the end of my 15 or 2K career, into Ukes, beginning development of 16. And again, like I said, I joined Ukes. It was February of 2015. And yeah.
Okay, that makes sense a little bit here. Chat, let me know if it's still lagging for you, because if it is, I technically could restart this up and use a different method of recording. So just let me know if it's getting really bad for you guys. But yeah, Bryan, that's really dope with the Stone Cold idea. And Stone Cold's iconic. Like, I don't think too many people are really going to complain about getting Stone Cold Steve Austin things into a video game. You know what you're going to get, and I think it also offered a lot of content that you could get, and we'll get into some of that too. Pre-order bonus. Now, did you have something to do with this?
I did not.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, maybe that was part of the deal for the Terminator trade-off for WrestleMania 31 at the time, but I was just like, this is weird. But he had interaction in WWE, so you're kind of like, I can't really complain about this.
Yeah, I remember being in the office, just through happenstance, like, because at Ukes, when I got there, like, one of the things, I think I mentioned before, but I was in charge of all the moves in the game, adding them to moveset, naming them, setting damage parameters, all that shit. So like, moves all fell within my purview. And I remember getting an email about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm like, what? Arnold Schwarzenegger? I'm like, was this sent to me by mistake? And then they're like, oh no. So 2K is having this be their pre-order bonus. And I was like okay, that's kind of random, weird, but I mean, all right. I guess maybe Arnold being in the game was like a precursor to the what was it, the 2K originals, the Wasteland stuff and all that. I don't know, but yeah, I was pretty surprised by that too.
Yeah, just a weird idea. Commercial was cool though. I grew up on that stuff with Terminator and all that, so I'm just kind of like, different. All right.
Yeah, that was my reaction too.
The showcase, I guess we'll start off with Stone Cold, because I see some people in the chat mentioning it now with the idea of the matches. Like, did you feel some of the matches were missing with the 2K showcase?
I mean, at the time, No, I guess I didn't. I mean, I wasn't. It was. I mean, I wasn't really involved. With the showcase from Yuke's side, from our side. So outside of me knowing that they with the idea, from our side that was a part of the game that I really didn't have much to do with outside of making sure that the roster for that mode for that part of the game, like I did the movesets and all that kind of stuff. But having played it on the back end, once we got like halfway through production, I went through and I played it. I mean, there isn't a match that really jumps out at me as far as being omitted or something that I think should have been there. But I mean, obviously, you must have something.
No, you know what? The only thing I thought was weird personally, the only thing I had was the WCW matches just being bonus. Like, why wouldn't that be part of his career? I think that if it's a WWE thing, I think though, like they wanted it to be focused on their company, but I'm like, dude, you have this rich WCW history, and I know Stunning Steve Austin. Like, yo, the dude was dope. Like, he was one of my favorite dudes to watch. Like, I always thought, when Flair is gone, this is the guy. Like, this is the dude to give the ball to. And then we all know who came in, brother, and he definitely wasn't letting him get any shine. But I thought Steve Austin was the future of that company. And they put in some cool matches with, like, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat classics. If you guys have never seen them, go back and watch them. Trust me. Go back and watch his work as the television champion, too, before that, when he was Stunning Steve and he actually had the longer hair. Like, the dude was dope, man. He really did a lot of good things.
And it's funny too, because like for I don't know, maybe younger people listening to this who only know Steve Austin as Stone Cold, but you go back and you look at Stunning Steve, like he was a completely different guy in the ring. He wrestled differently. I mean, Steve Austin's a great wrestler, like fantastic. But it's to see, like if you go back and watch his WCW stint as Stunning Steve, and then to see him as Stone Cold. I mean, he really did completely change his character, like completely. It was an amazing transformation. But I'm like you. I've always been a fan of Steve Austin, WCW, and of course in WWF, WWE. And as far as like why there wasn't probably more WCW, like actually integrated into like the main through line of his of the showcase. I mean, it probably just had to do with the fact that we wanted to, and this was something that I pitched as well, where it's like, we definitely got to start with that King in the Ring moment with that promo. I would imagine, I don't know this for sure, but I just, based on my prior experience, designing Showcase and working on this stuff, I don't think it was anything that WWE said to us or said to them as far as like limiting WCW's presence. I think that was just a creative choice on 2K's part.
Right.
But with that being said, I think it was cool that they even added those like bonus matches from his time in WCW.
And you got to remember, it's the early days of the WWE Network. It just started a year prior. Think about that. Like with WrestleMania 30, they finally just started the network. They're probably really wanting you to focus on, come to find our content, go to the network, so that way you can watch all of this stuff. And weird thing, I'm just going to ask you this question. This is another one off the hip from me. Dr. D. David Schultz. Do you see the comparison to Stone Cold? A lot of people were saying it, but Stone Cold's never seen him talk. But once I heard them speak, I'm like, they're kind of on point with each other a little.
I heard that recently too, after having watched his episode of Dark Side of the Ring, people saying, the similarities. And I, like watching that episode, I didn't readily notice it, but I guess, going back, I mean, definitely, I guess the way that they were cutting their promo, I definitely could see some similarities there for sure. They just had this air of authenticity,
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I thought David Schultz looked the best out of all those people in that after watching it. No offense, John Stossel, I don't care if you watch this. Like, dude, you deserved it. I felt like afterwards, like, what a piece of work.
He came across like a dick, man. Like, straight up.
Dude, but when he said the part about the money, I felt better when I got my money. And I was just like, wow, so the doctor was right. You're trying to milk the pain.
That's it.
Just dirty, man. But Original Biggie just had a question in the chat that I wanted to acknowledge. OB1, he says, well, it brings me to the initial question. What environment is going on at 2K during this time period, I assume? He put now, but I don't think Bryan really knows about now, we can kind of save that one.
Okay.
But what was your environment on the way out? Was it kind of like I don't want to be here, or was it you just you punch in and you punch out?
No, I mean there's no punching in and punching out. I mean, but I mean by the time
I don't mean it as a physical. I meant like in your mind, like I'm here, I'm leaving, I'm here, I'm out.
Yeah. So like I said, you know, I wasn't happy there, you know, before. My mom passed away, and then it definitely got more and more once I went back, and like all that unhappiness that I was having just kind of got to the point where it was hard for me to wake up and get myself up and go into that office. And it's a weird thing because like there were people on the team that I enjoyed interacting with a great deal. You know, the guys on the audio team, my friend Bryan and Sean, I love interacting and working with them. Being able to work with Lionel was freaking awesome. But there were just other elements within the team that were just very draining and very negative. And I guess for me, the way that I've described it to friends, like when they've asked me about, you know, this similar question, it just for me, and again, this is just me. I mean, obviously there were other people who were just right as rain over there, but for me, like the mood on the team, it felt very Game of Thrones like. It was very political. It seemed like there were a lot of people just trying to. It's like their priorities weren't solely on the product. It was more about how they could make themselves kind of stand out in a way to make them kind of appear or be bigger than what they were. And it just, for me, you know, it was just a negative environment. And it was just very draining because I'm not a negative person. You know, I deal with negative things that come my way with a positive resolution. You know, I mean, I've been doing this game for a long time, and yes, it can be negative things pop up all the time when you're working on any kind of annualized title. But for me, I'm like, yeah, okay, you know, it's okay. I mean, this is not our first rodeo. You know, it's like we've been doing this year over year for damn near a decade. It's like, you know, we kind of expect these things to pop up, and we take care of them. But like that's how I am. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just got very just too political, and there seemed to be, as it pertains to me, like I don't know, I kind of felt like when I kind of felt like maybe I had done something wrong by taking that time away from the project to go deal with what I had to deal with. And when I came back, I felt, not through everybody, but through certain people that, I don't know, maybe resentment that I had left or whatever. But at that point, I'm like, what do you expect me to do? I mean, I lost my fucking mom, you know? And I just, it was just very bad for the soul. And just like I said, it's very draining every day.
It didn't work. I'm just glad that it didn't work for you, brother. I hear you on it. Look, I'll tell people this. I'm gonna give you guys a little little shoot real quick into my real life too. I left a job over a year ago that I was making more money at, and they looked at me. They're like, "You're not gonna leave," and I said, "Oh no, I'm leaving. I'm leaving." They're like, "You just won an award. You won this award for the best employee of the year. Why would you do all this?" And I'm like, "You didn't give me the promotion." Like it's there's more to it sometimes than that. Sometimes your own happiness is worth more than money or playing the political game. Oh, yeah. You just get tired of it a little bit, man. And once you start feeling yourself being drained like that, it's not worth it. So to anybody who's younger out there, sometimes the money isn't worth it. And I start to understand the reasons when people are like, why would you quit WWE? You got to be crazy as a wrestler when they're offering you that much money. But for your mind, like listen to how Jon Moxley talks. Like that's how I felt. I could empathize with him when he was saying some of the things like, dude, I can't be here anymore. He's like, there's another hour of this show. Oh my God, I got to go. Like it was driving you mad, man. Like I get it.
When I heard Moxley's that podcast he did with Wade Keller and Jericho, like that exact, man, I so felt exactly where he was coming from because that's how I felt, and like you, like I took a pay cut when I went to YUKE'S, and you know what? I could give a fuck because my quality of life was so much better Like, I love working with you. It's like it is a complete opposite experience that I had from 2K. It's like a family, you know. It was very reminiscent of my time at THQ. And yeah, I mean, the reduction in my pay, honestly, was like, I would gladly hand it over. I'd do it again in a heartbeat, because I mean, it's all of that stress that I had, all of it was gone. You know, I'm in an environment where we pick each other up. It's positive. I love my coworkers to death, and there's just a camaraderie there that was missing for me at 2K. So yeah, I totally feel you, man. You know, your quality of life is worth way more than whatever zeros are on your paycheck.
Darn right. Bryan, what you sipping on over there, dogs? For the audio listeners.
Oh, so this is it's Cinco de Mayo, so I'm sipping on a Sol Cerveza.
That's right. And you
my
younger listeners under 21 better have a soul too. All right? Watch yourselves. Watch yourselves now. All right, B, let's get into the nooks and crannies of the game, at least some of the stuff that I wrote down.
Yeah, I'm glad you got notes, because I didn't take any notes for this.
Dude, my notes are very minimal for these, so we're going to kind of probably fly through these a little bit faster than usual. But reversal system, this is the first time it's introduced with that set number. We went through it. Where like some people had I think it was 3 and 4 this year. I don't know if there was anybody who had 5 unless it was a technical wrestler. And if they did, it was few and far between who had that. But the reversal system was set. Was this something that you're like, yeah, I'm all for this still? I mean, how do you feel about this going forward for like a future wrestling game or title? Do you like the reversals? Do you think it should just be harder? I'm just trying to pick at your brain a little bit, because I know we talked about some of this stuff.
Yeah, so you're talking about the reversal slots, right?
Yeah, where it's limited to how many times you can hit R2.
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit last week. I remember at the time, because I was in Japan, that was the first time that I got a chance to demo it with the guys, and I wasn't a fan of it initially, not at all. I was like, why am I being penalized for being good at the game? It's kind of how I felt, you know, by reducing, you know, my ability to perform counters into reverse. It did start to grow on me, but overall, like if I was given a choice, you know, right now, if someone said, okay, you can have reversals as they were in 14, 15, or the limited reversal slots, pick. I'm gonna go the 14 to 15 and previous route. Because for me, as much as I did, like I said, I did start to appreciate it for what it was, and it did force you to play a little different with the reversal slots. But my thing is that when you don't have reversals, and that's one of the things about the game, like if you were unable to defend yourself, you're really not playing anymore. You're just sitting there getting your ass beat, waiting for a slot to fill back up. You know, there's nothing you can do to engage and interact with the game. And for me, that was the biggest detriment. You know, it's like, you know, it's like, okay, I'm out of reversals, so I guess I'll just put my controller down and wait, like, have at it. You know, if you pin me, I'll pick it back up and try to kick out. But I didn't like that part of it. That really stuck in my craw.
Yeah, it encouraged that stomp spam.
Yeah, it really did. And like, yeah, moving forward, like, I mean, honestly, like, it's one of those things, like, what's old is new again. But I'm very much interested in, you know, maybe going back to the whole 2-button reversal where you have, you know, a counter for grapples and one for attacks or strikes, you know?
Yeah, because I think that still shows strategy and skill with the 2 buttons at least. Or if you could do reversals into reversals, because to me that would be key to have like that all-star style reversal system for how wrestling's done today. You know how it is. People do like the go behind, another go behind, a reverse into this, and I think if you make the chains harder, and then eventually if you can pull one off, that's really great. Like once you get to like the 3rd level of chain reversals, that could be something really dope that people could do.
Yeah, I actually pitched that for. Okay, so you got your notes. I don't. Which was the game where we added the mid-move reversals? That was 16, wasn't it?
I have it written in here somewhere. I want to say it's 17.
I'm pretty sure. I think it's 16 because on my way out of 2K, I know that we were putting holes together for where you can do these mid-move reversals, and I submitted the list of the specific holds. to support this. So it's got to, I'm pretty sure it's 16. But so again, so kind of piggybacking off of that, I actually put together a design for, I don't know if it was 17 or 18, to allow players to do these counters out of counters during these mid-move reversals, as you described. It obviously didn't get implemented, but I was on the same page as you as far as that goes.
Okay, Bryan, you know what? It was perfectly timed that you said that because Mark Goldman just asked the question you just answered. So, Mark, hopefully that satisfies it. If it doesn't, shoot us a message about that for it. And let me see here.
What was the question? What was
it was just basically 2K16 Yuke's implemented second chance big reversals. How was the idea proposed by 2K and implemented? You kind of brought that up, that you wrote the design for it and it came up. And I guess the second part of his question here seems like it's how hard was it to implement those types of reversals into the game? Was it something simple?
Well, I mean, the good thing about my job and honestly all the designers at 2K and even at THQ is that, you know, we just get our responsibility is just to come up with the ideas. You know, the implementation, that's on the programming side, the animation side. So I'm sure it was a lot. I mean, it was definitely work, but I don't think it was any more difficult than, you know, anything else that has to be done with the game. I did get more involved with the mid-move reversals for 2K19 because I kind of asked to kind of get more involved with like working with some of the tools and everything. And by that game, I was basically I was the one that was determining which moves had a mid-move reversal point, and then I would kind of go into our animation tool, and I would pick out, you know, the counters and set the reversal points for those motions and everything. It was really cool stuff, and that was fun. I mean, it was a lot. You know, we were dealing with a lot of animations, but at least doing that work, once it was dull to me, it was tedious, but I wouldn't say it was very hard. In fact, it was pretty creative because, you know, you're basically just working with these two animations and just trying to find a point in the move where you can then kind of segue and, you know, slide in that counter and then the appropriate animation. So that was kind of fun.
Dope. Marlon Anthony started getting a little personal, talking about his job for his department with his work-life manager. He's just talking about his manager didn't understand the work-life balance. You got to do you, brother, when it comes to stuff like that. I know I'm not trying to veer off into personal life too much, but you got to do you, man. Only you know what's best for you. I always told people this. When I went to college, my school didn't care about my job, and my job didn't care about my school, so I had to kind of balance that shit myself. And that's the best way to put it. And neither side cared about either one. So when it came to my money, I would always say school's got nothing to say about this. Like, I think I took, when I first got a different job, I definitely told a teacher I was going to miss the final exam because I had to do orientation for this job. And she was like, if you do it, I'm going to have to drop you a letter grade. I already had an A, but I was just like, I guess, man, do what you got to do. I'm doing what I got to do. You ain't filling my pockets. And it was like an elective class too. Just wild, man. But take care of yourself, Marlon. Is the best answer I could give you for that.
And just know that your happiness is just as important as, you know, your company's bottom line, what they need. You know, never sacrifice your happiness for anything else.
And I think during this pandemic, we're kind of seeing the importance of people. Like, it's important to keep your people happy. And I think that it shows that
and
maybe
safe.
You have flex too with what you can do with people. People are working from home. Why couldn't you do some of this before? I'm just throwing it out there for some people's jobs and what they do. Let's see here. King asks, when you get a mid-move reversal, it makes you wait a period of time to be able to reverse it again. And I think that's enough. And Mr. Floodwater asks, why couldn't reversal timing be different rather than if you knew when to reverse? So he's basically asking why about the windows. I think why couldn't the window shrink a little bit more? Because I felt the same way too. If you were good at reversing, you just knew how to reverse, and I'm sure you didn't want to penalize people for using their reversals and they get nothing for it.
Yeah. I mean, I know that, you know, when you set the, because you know, that was part of my thing was setting the frames, the reversal frames, and there was a certain threshold that you didn't want to, you know, past. Like you were kind of like confined to work within a certain number of animation frames for the midpoint reversal. To keep it, smooth and the animation smooth, and so that they can transition from the base animation into the counter animation. I know that if you get good at the game, it does get to a point where maybe you can kind of do them pretty consistently, especially if you're playing against the same guy and you kind of know their moveset and their moves. Only thing I will say to that, I mean, you can always by raising the difficulty, it does condense that window a little bit, but there's only so much you can really do.
Let's see here. Oh, we'll probably get into some of that, Biggie, in a second here. I'm gonna keep plugging through this list that I got here. Bryan, I got stamina system up next. I still hate that cluttered ass screen. This is just me talking. Like that cluttered ass screen with so many different things on it. But the stamina system was implemented, and that broken ass auto targeting. Man, I just remember this being so bad in the game for like multi-man matches and stuff. I'm like, dude, what is up with this?
Yeah, targeting's always been a problem. We've had some games where the targeting, at least in my opinion, worked really well.
Oh, it gets better later, I think, in the series upon my research, but
targeting was always like an up and down thing, especially when you're talking about like multi-man matches. Off the top of my head, like I don't recall the targeting being especially bad in 16, but I haven't played in a long time, and you've got your notes and the questions and the feedback from the audience, so I take everybody's word by that. But I mean it's always I would say targeting online has always been just a bitch. You try to find right kind of that nice sweet spot. And what was the other thing about the stamina?
Stamina system was introduced to this one. I think that's where the bar would run out, so people just couldn't run around crazily.
We had stamina in 15 too. That was when it was introduced.
Did we? There's something different about the system for it then, because this was on the back of the box, I believe.
What is it?
Something new with the stamina system. I thought there was. Do I have 16 next to me?
I'm looking at it right now. No, I don't see anything about stamina on the back.
No,
I'm pretty sure it was the same. Yeah.
Whatever.
But in terms of like a larger question about stamina, I mean, I just want your opinion. What do you think about stamina in these games?
I like
it. Are you pro or con?
I like it, but I don't like it. It's a weird thing. It's kind of like the reversals thing, and how realistic do you want it to be? I think stamina works as long as it progresses with the match per se. Like I'm sorry to compare this. I've been playing lots and lots of Fire Pro though, and I kind of dig how it works for them a little bit. Like to me, there's 3 levels of the match in Fire Pro.
Yeah.
Like there's the beginning, lots of chain wrestling, lots of you got to beat down your opponent a little bit. Then you get to that midpoint in the match where it's like, okay, let me see if I can hit a big grapple or a big signature move, and then you get to that tired point where you're like, whew, all right, let me hold that elbow.
3-act. It's like a movie. It's like wrestling matches, like good ones, even small ones, like. They follow a 3-act structure, just like films or plays.
Shout out to Eric Bischoff, 83 weeks, because I know he'll say something if we don't give him his props. Eric Bischoff always says that about matches, though. They should be like movies. And maybe that's the best way to put it, Bryan. Like, maybe you have it where it starts like this, then it gets to the middle, then it gets to the end. But stamina works sometimes and it doesn't. Like I love the super kicks where people would hit them and then they would fall. Like those videos were great of that stuff because I'm like, that's exactly it. This dude's been spent. He should fall down. And then there's other times though where you're like, dude, what do you mean I can't body slam Andre the Giant? I got all my health right now. This is garbage, dude. Come on, bro. And Andre used to be my pick for when people made me mad. That was like, I got something for y'all. Andre the Giant. Yep, I'm about to headbutt and elbow drop everybody in this match.
My thoughts on stamina, kind of goes back to the same feelings that I had about the reversal slots, where I guess for me, I'm anti anything that takes away my ability to control my wrestler. My biggest thing with the stamina in these 2K games, 15 and on, at least to 19, I don't know what they did in 20, is that I always hated it when, stamina would get so low that I couldn't do my finisher. It just created these awkward moments in the match where, like you're saying, you get to that third act in the match, everybody's tired, people have been kicking out of moves, whatever. You do this, maybe your signature, and you want to follow that up immediately with the finisher. But if you have no stamina, there's just this long pause and wait as you wait for it to fill back up to enough to where you can hit your big move. And I always dislike that about the stamina system. I'm totally cool with it, showing the superstars, their movements and their body language being fatigued and lethargic. Of course, that, like you said, that just, you want, if you're in a long match or, whatever length of a match, you want, the wrestler to look different at the end of the match physically than how they did at the start. So I like that about it, but I always dislike it when it starts taking things away from me or creating these unnecessary, awkward moments where I can't do what I want to do, and I'm just sitting there, stomping for a little bit, or maybe not even that, because you stomp and it eats up more of your stamina, and you're kind of just sitting there waiting for it to slowly fill back up. It's those moments that, for me, kind of killed it.
Yeah. That I agree with you on that. That's definitely like a takeaway. So I think if you could implement it in a way maybe that it's related to time. Do you know what I mean? Like time spent in the match. Okay, now you guys are going to get tired because you've been in here for a long time battling. I think that would be something that's really cool.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Face scanning. Now, we came a long way. This is one of the things I will give 2K the upper hand on from the THQ days. I thought the models looked a lot better. They look great with all the little cameras around them. And every year I feel like there's more cameras. Like when they take these pictures, I'm like, damn, man, you guys gonna have a camera up somebody's ass soon the way you guys are doing it. Like, we got 5,600 new cameras to take pictures of these guys. But it was weird to see someone like Triple H look great. Brock Lesnar looked a little bit off, but he also looked like he didn't do his own motions either, so it looked kind of like, what happened here with his entrance and stuff. And then the Legends. Legends just never looked right, man. And I always wish that you guys would have hired like a Razorback or somebody. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter, but Razorback does a really good job like recreating Legends, even in the NBA games. Like, he is masterful at like doing the face textures when they don't have somebody looking right, and he goes in and edits them. And I think he works for NBA 2K now. Based off of his mods. That was another don't get me started. That was something else that I used to wonder. I'm like, why doesn't 2K hire people from the community like NBA does? Weird, but that was pretty loaded.
There's a lot of talent in the WWE community. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, dude. I give those dudes credit, man. There's a lot of good people.
Yeah. If I mean, the whole thing with the scanning is, it's a good rule of thumb that if one model looks great and the other model doesn't, it's probably because, the model that doesn't look good was created using non-scanned data. I don't think everybody gets scanned. We try to, they try to get as many people scanned as they can. But like you mentioned, the Legends, that's one of the reasons why some of the Legends don't look maybe as good as, the mainline roster, the guys that, had the scan data done. So when you're creating a model without that scan data, it's the modelers, it's the artists working off of photographic reference material. And that's the reason why you see those discrepancies in the quality.
I think
but even some of the guys that weren't scanned, again, it all depends on the artist that's working on them. Some look better, even within the Legends. Some look better than the others.
Yeah, like Macho Man was one that I was like, he looks like a thumb. I don't know what's up with this dude's the look of him. But I really couldn't be mad when I thought about it too. Though, look at how large the roster is now, though, compared to even 3 years before this. Like, that's a big ass roster, dude. That's a lot of people that you're gonna have to go through, get the faces, try to get this right, and nothing's perfect. You're never gonna be able to go back and get Macho Man's face scan now. You're not gonna be able to do all that stuff, so it's gonna take a little bit longer time to work on people like that. Let's get into. I had put Where's Backstage Brawl. Was Backstage Brawl in development at this time, or was it already like poof gone? Not thinking about it.
Yeah, we didn't have it in this one, did we? I think it came back in 2017. Is that when we added the...
Yeah, you brought it back and connected everything.
It's, everything is, at this time, because, when I was working on 15, all these features that had been in the last gen, it's all taking, incremental steps year over year to try to bring back a lot of that content that was in the 360 and PS3 games. I guess, apparently we were not at that stage yet for 16. I don't remember any discussions about bringing back the backstage area during 16. And I guess a large part of that goes to the fact that, so at YUKE'S, when we were doing these games, at least especially around this time. So this is my first year at YUKE'S, and after the whole situation about them, them being, my old boss at 2K, not being happy that I was going to YUKE'S, once he kind of realized that he couldn't tell Hiromi who to hire, his next thing was basically he told them, look, that's fine, whatever. Brian can work with you guys, fine. But he was like, I don't want him interacting with us at all. and I was like, oh, I was told this, and I was like, okay. So I had no interaction. Like everything I did was done through communication that I would receive from my team. They would communicate, stuff that they've heard from 2K. So like a lot, like the creative power that I had, previously was all gone, obviously, because the dynamic changed. In this relationship, it's the publisher, THQ, 2K. They're the ones that have the final say creatively. They're the ones that lay the groundwork for the feature set, for anything new that's added, with our feedback. So I was writing designs up until 19, and presenting them to the team, and then they in turn would present them to 2K. But it became a thing. It was like, it was 2K. They're the ones that pick and choose the things that they want to do. So in terms of like a lot of the the discussions about the feature set, about why backstage was in 17 but not in 16, I just was not a part of those conversations. So yeah.
Hey, that's what it is. And remember, folks, that petty bullshit comes back to get in the way. I don't care what job it is. Petty shit like what he was just talking about, like, oh, well, we're not going to talk to you then. All right, that's fine. That shit comes back to haunt you when someone says, hey, how come nobody said anything about this?
Yeah, I remember specifically the thing was, I was told that what he said, as it came back to me, was that he didn't want to have any email in his inbox that had my name attached to it. and I hear this and I just started laughing, and I didn't understand like why he was so angry. It's like, he's like, you let me go. It's like, I can't make a living. You know what I mean?
Right.
I never understood that animosity. It started to thaw. By 19, it had thawed a lot, and I was communicating directly with a former colleague of mine from THQ and 2K who was still working on the game. So by 19, me and him were exchanging messages back and forth as it relates to movesets and motion capture, stuff like that. So it eventually did thaw on that last game that we did.
Petty bullshit. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. I'm going to skip over some of the creative stuff because I'm sure we'll be able to get into it later because some of the stuff keeps coming back up recurringly with these games. This was the Four Horsewomen game, wasn't it, with the debacle with them? Or was that 15? I wanted to ask you this question anyway about the Four Horsewomen. What happened with that so that they couldn't get into the game? Do you remember that? Where it was like on the forums that, people were pissed. There was one year where they were like, oh, we're about to get Sasha, Bailey, Charlotte, Becky. And all of a sudden we looked and we're like, we're the Four Horsewomen. They didn't give a shit. And
they're not in this?
I'm not sure if they're in this one or if it was 15. But they were expecting them for one game and they were not in and people were pissed.
It had to have been 15 that they were mad about that. Because, again, I haven't played 16 in a long time. Maybe somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd be shocked. Because
if you remember, I'm going to look it up right now. I'm going to do some research while you're talking.
Yeah, because 2K16 it came out in 2015. Were they not in this? Maybe they weren't.
I think this was the year where everyone was like, they gotta be in. And people I remember, so listen, when we used to do our leagues, we used to make plans beforehand. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have Sasha. We'll have enough females for people to pick out, blah, 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 who has time to do the extra stuff. And then someone was just like, yo, they're not in. And I was like, what the hell do you mean they're not in? They were like, go to 2K forums. this archaic shit. We go on there, and I'm like, what do you mean they're not in? And then the community manager, I don't know if it was Marcus or somebody, was doing some smooth ass, like, pew pew. Look, guys, I know you're pissed, but stop throwing tomatoes. Hold on. I know you're mad, but we're working on it. We know how much you guys care.
All right, that is, okay. That is starting to bring back some memories about this. I think I think you're right. I don't think they are in this. Because I think I was even shocked. I'm like, seriously?
I'm pulling up the roster now.
I kind of felt that way for a lot of the roster as it moved forward.
Yeah, this is the one, dude. They're definitely not in this.
Yeah. That's on 2K and the people that put that roster together. Because again, I mentioned it before in like one of the videos we did previously, where when you're putting the roster together, it's a game of, it's almost like stocks. The top guys are going to be in the game, so you don't really need to. I mean, those are easy to plug in. Your Triple H's, Undertaker, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Shield guys, whatever. Boom, these guys are going to be in this. It's the mid card and lower is where you, especially the lower side of things. And I'm not saying that about the horsewomen, but where you have to start and kind of look at these talents and say, okay, who are the talents that are popping right now within the fan base? What are the talents that are seemingly getting a push? It's almost like speculating on futures with the stock market, because again, the WWE is not going to tell you this person, with the couple of exceptions that I mentioned before, they're not going to tell you who they see is going to be who they're going to push in the future. It's on the developers to kind of know the product, have their thumb to the pulse of what the product is doing and how they're going, and what the fans are gravitating to. And that was always a fun part about putting a roster together and giving Corey feedback. But it was one of those things where, I do remember where I'm like, how can they not be in this game?
I'm looking at the chat right now, bro. They lit it up when I was bringing this up again. They were like, you damn right it was 2K16. Yeah, I'm still wondering to this day what happened with that, because you got to remember, Sasha and Bayley were coming off, I thought, one of the best matches of the year in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like, that's my favorite women's match of all time. Like, I was watching that like, damn, this is good. Like, I love NXT. It was like one of those moments where I'm like, I'm excited to see women's wrestling again. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It was just different to see. And I'm looking at like Simon Gotch. No, with all due respect, like, I've met Simon Gotch plenty of times. Like, nice dude, but with what ended up happening with some of these people, I was just like, you guys picked him over some of these other people. Mikey Whipwreck.
That's what made it even worse, is that you look at who's in versus who was excluded, and like you said, like, all due respect to the vaudevillains and everything, but the women were they were killing it in 15. They were really making NXT. I mean, it was, of course, NXT itself and the rest of the talent, but those matches they were putting on were like really put NXT on the map. And again, it goes back to you got to know the product, you got to know the talents that are really standing out and who the fans are expecting. And there's no excuse why they didn't include them in this game. There really isn't at all. Because I remember I was in Japan, and I'm pretty sure finding out that they weren't going to be in, I'm like, is this the final roster? And they were like, yeah, this is what 2K has decided. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of omissions here. This is like, you can just see it. Like, if you follow the product and just keep up with what the fans are talking about, it's like it was an obvious omission.
Dude, like, I'm happy to have Sister Sherry and Harlem Heat and everything, but I still wanted the horsewomen. And then I'm like, we got Fernando and Diego. No offense, Epico and Primo are pretty good wrestlers. You didn't have to give them this bullshit bullfighting gimmick. I was just like, dude, what are you doing? So I think that just hurt a lot of fans where it counts. Bryan, I'm going to skip over some of this. Like I said, this is all going to come back up. Career mode with the Authority. Only thing I have next to it says nah. We'll talk about that again, though, because it comes up again. Yeah. You guys added back some match types. Cool. Nothing biggie, though, like some multi-man ladders, handicap matches, tornado tags. Cool. I'm not going to hound anything about that. Last thing that I want to cover will be a question. I can't remember who just put this in the chat. Where was it? Somebody just asked something about Breakout. And the breakouts were really cool. I don't know whose idea that was during the entrances to press the button. The classic Raw stuff. If you remember the Raw video game, you could break out, attack somebody, and some people were asking like just different questions like how did that come to be? Whose idea was it? How about using weapons during the breakout to make sure that they would never stay though, but
I don't know who came up with that, to be honest. I don't know if that was something that came from 2K or from us. But it was. I mean, that was. I mean, but that at the same time, like that was something that we had been wanting to do. We'd wanted to do that for a long time, going as far back to THQ days. I remember having conversations with Corey about, because it fit into, because we wanted to have a situation where at the end of a match you could still, you could attack an opponent or do these kind of things. And then that was part of the whole, being able to interrupt somebody's entrance. We never got around to implementing it during the THQ days, but that was one of those things that was always talked about and discussed. They added it for 16. So maybe it came from 2K and the designers from THQ that were there for that. But it was a good addition. It was a great addition. It made the matches a bit more livelier. You never knew what to expect, like during entrances and everything. And I thought the execution was pretty well done too.
And speaking of breakouts and execution, guys, it's time to talk a little Manscaped for you here. Just sent over my numbers to Manscaped. Hopefully they're happy with them. I'm waiting on the email back. Send them all the spots though. So Bryan, those get to see lots of your lovely face in all of the ads while we're talking with everything. The Lawnmower 3.0. Fellas, ladies, this is the excellence of execution. Do you want to put those hairs down low in a sharpshooter? You're going to want to get the Lawnmower 3.0. You guys are going to want to slap this bad boy on. You got a little light on there. It's vibrating. And I'm telling you guys, this thing gets the job done. So you guys are going to want to make sure that you guys go to manscaped.com, put in our promo code EPW show and get 20% off. Now, not only do you get that, you guys will get yourselves a nice bag, comes with a little newspaper, and fellas, I know you'll appreciate this, a little ball toner, ball deodorant. This thing will help make you guys smell great, helps attract the ladies, kind of like pheromones a little bit. And ladies, you guys can use this stuff too. We don't discriminate here on everything pro wrestling. Everybody is welcome. Use the promo code. Let a brother help you out. So do me a favor, guys. Check that out. Manscaped.com. Promo code EPW show. If you forget any of this, it's down in the description box for you on the audio podcast and on the YouTube. Flex. Let's get back into 2K17 here with my man Bryan. Now, Bryan, I got a question for you that I missed from my boy King. This doesn't pertain to anything in particular, but he wanted to know. He said, I had a question about the create a sign being taken away, and if there was a plan to evolve it into shirts when you guys implemented it, where you put custom logos on shirts and you would see fans in the crowds wearing those shirts.
Well, I think create a sign, it was still in the game. It was in the create a superstar mode, wasn't it?
Yeah, like I think this is going back to last gen a little bit.
Oh, okay. I don't remember us ever having any talks about branching that functionality into like editing the shirts on the crowd. It's actually a pretty kind of cool idea, though. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, that could be something penciled in for later. Don't worry, these will all be archived for you, so you can always come back.
Who came up with that? Who was that?
That was King in the chat. He thought that would be like kind of a cool idea with it. I always thought that's where you guys were heading to. Like once it was, I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be create a sign. Eventually, it'll lead to like create a T-shirt, get some T-shirt sales, everything else, yada yada yada, and then maybe you see like someone in the crowd wearing the.
King, that's a good idea. I might steal that from you with your permission. If you want me to, just say the word and I won't.
Don't be messing it up now.
There was something similar. Or maybe it was one of these career modes. I don't know if it was 16 or 17, where at a certain level you were able to get T-shirts.
Yeah, you kept having to change the designs.
Yeah, for sales.
I want to say maybe it was 18. I can't remember though. See, like these games, this is a big problem. So if you guys hear us talking and this stuff starts to like blur together, I apologize, bro, but there's not a lot of separation once we start talking about these.
Brother, I was gonna say the same thing. When you made the transition to 17, after your Manscaped commercial, which was great, by the way,
Thank you.
is that before, where it was like during the THQ years, the games that we came out with, good or bad, they all had like an identity. Like you can point to one and say tag teams, SVR09, physics, SVR11, like the TLC, SVR 2008, shitty 24/7 mode, not a very good game. But fighting styles, there are all these things that like each one of the games had like its own identity, and with these games we're going over, it's like there's just like you said, nothing really sticks out.
Blah. I'm holding up 17 right now with Lesnar on it. As you can see, this shit's dusty as hell because I haven't played it. Just blah is what I see when I look at these games.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate too, when you really think about everything that happened with those. Let me see here. Okay, Brian's connection's acting up again, so hopefully that'll be all settled down in a second here for us. But 2K17, Brock Lesnar's on the cover of this game. Brock Lesnar was an extreme focal point for 2K17. He wasn't a bad cover choice. Brock Lesnar was just there doing his thing, and the pre-order bonus for this one was Goldberg when it came down to it. Not bad. I'm not mad at like who was on the cover and everything else. This game just felt very like different and underwhelming. There's, like I said, there's positive things that I can find in here, but it honestly felt the same. I wasn't excited about the cover. I was like, oh, Goldberg, we had him before. Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. I was trying to cover.
All right, cool. Oh, appreciate it, bro.
No, you're good.
Like before I got cut off, I was saying that my biggest memory of 17 is the fact that there was no showcase, right?
Yeah, that's one of the first things I wanted to get into about this was the no showcase. Yeah. Was that agreed upon with you guys as YUKE'S, or was that strictly a 2K decision? Because I see why they didn't put it in, because in my mind I'm like, yo, where are the Kurt Angle matches? Where's Rey Mysterio? You didn't have any of these guys on the roster at the time that, like, I wanted the classic Lesnar Rey Mysterio match from 03 on SmackDown. I wanted his match with Chris Benoit, his match with Eddie Guerrero. Like, you couldn't do a lot of Lesnar's previous matches. So it's probably like, do we really want to do everything current that just happened?
Yeah, well, there's other things you could have done. But no, the decision to remove Showcase was a 2K decision. That was theirs and theirs alone. And honestly, for me, again, like it goes back to what when we talked about, when we replaced GM mode, we really didn't have, it took us a while before we were able to re-implement a comparable mode. I guess in that case, it'd be universe or story designer, dependent.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get rid of Showcase, it just puts more onus. And the reason why they did is that, as it was explained to us, was that they wanted to, by getting rid of Showcase, they could then, devote that same amount of time into the career mode, because they wanted career mode to be this huge, big, kind of robust mode. And that's fine, but at the same time, it's like if you do that, you really have to hit that mode out of the park. And I don't think that occurred with 17.
I'm sorry, Brian. Brian, if you can see my face on the video, I'm definitely making front and faces, shaking my head because I know what happened. Let me give a quick shout out. I saw Derek in the chat pop in here. King has given you permission. He said, yeah, go ahead, steal it. Let me screenshot that for you, Brian. So Connor said, how you fellas doing? Connor, how are you? Good, sir.
What up?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Mark Goldman, we are on point with your questions. Answered it again before he got it in. Let me ask you this, Brian. Are you for Showcase or are you against it? Because I'm not a fan of it, honestly. Like, I'm playing. Really? I think because I'm older, though. Because I'm just like, dude, I've seen this shit. If I wanted to go back, I would watch it. Like, let's give me some good gameplay shit. Let me create some stuff. That's what I want to do when I'm playing a game. I don't want to relive some of the stuff. And maybe it's for younger fans. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what? Time out. Let me say this. If it's like Attitude Era, 30 years of WrestleMania, I'll take it. But when they did the Showcase series from like 15 onward, I was like, hell no, dude. I don't want this. Like, I don't know. There was just something about, I think it's too limiting. Like, playing 16, it was exhausting playing with Stone Cold. By the time I was done, I was like, yo, you're eating this stunner, and I'm never picking Stone Cold again. Like, I'm done with this.
There is that. Now, admittedly, there is that, where you kind of get, fatigue of using the same wrestler over and over and over. So I definitely get that point. Am I pro Showcase or not? I think for me, it just boils down to the execution. I mean, now, obviously, I'm biased. I was just playing 15 Showcase the other day, and yes, I designed it, but I thought that came out pretty well. I enjoyed the Showcase in 16, but for me, it's like, well, okay, so if we don't have another idea of how to do Showcase, and maybe apparently that's what happened with 2K17. And then they say, okay, well, we're going to put all that time and energy into beefing up the career mode. Okay, fine. Like as a fan, taking my development side out of it, as a fan, as someone who's I don't pay for the games, but as a customer,
don't rub it in our face.
Sorry, I don't mean to. But as a customer, it's like, just give the fans a quality fucking mode. If you're going to get rid of one, and devote all this energy, just make sure that you've got a design and a creative direction in mind and in place that is going to trump what players experience with Showcase. Because as much as I enjoyed Showcase, I also understand how limiting it is, and it's one of those things that you play it, and I mean, like I said, I was playing a Showcase in a 15 the other day. That's the first time I played that in years. You know what I mean? Like, It's not something that I'm going to play a week after I beat it. It's like you get all the unlocks, you've gone through all the matches, and it's like, oh, that was cool. You've seen all the videos. Like, that was fun. But then it's like, okay, next, So it does have that limiting factor. But that being said, I mean, there's other things you can do to, increase the life of that mode by being clever and creative once you've completed it, like alternate things you can branch out and do whatever. But again, that's just coming up with the creative and then allocating, the right amount of cost to getting that done. So I'm kind of sitting on the fence with it. It's like, if you give me a Showcase and it's fun, it's like, I'm not going to complain about it. It's like, oh, I like that. I thought this came out well. But yeah, it is one of those things where it's like, I'm never going to go back to it, which, I guess really isn't the greatest thing.
I think that it really comes down to, are you able to provide me with life? Like you said, either you have to have more modes that are entertaining, or are you going to make this game have life? And I think that's the biggest thing for us as wrestling gamers. Back in the day, man, Royal Rumble on Sega Genesis or something, dude, I would play that for an entire year or two until, like, the cows came home, because that's all I had. That's all I got. Yeah. I think in video game world, we're so advanced now that I'm like, dude, we need something that's going to keep this shit alive. Like, I need something that makes me want to continue getting on this game, playing it, to where I'm like, man, you know what? I'm about to go home and kick back a couple hours and put in a WWE game because, oh, they're releasing Andre the Giant tonight. Like, he's going to be free in the game. I can't wait to get something like that. We didn't have anything like that yet. I mean, we're getting DLC, but we're not getting DLC. It's over. By the time you hit the 3-month period, you guys are already done working on another game, and we're done with the game. And we're like, man.
No, I feel you, man. And that's one of the things that, being on Twitter and, like, seeing, reading feedback over the years that I've been working on this game, that I started to see it more and more during this run of 2K games, where it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm done with this now. There's not much for me to do to go back to it. And that's one of the things that I've taken to heart, and is something I'd like to address in, whatever, the project that we, may do in the future, is, creating a game and modes and things to do in the game to kind of keep players engaged outside, once they finish a, single player mode, just kind of giving them, whether that's, whatever it may be, but to just keep the players engaged with, with the game for a longer period of time than 3 or 4 months, and then waiting for the next one. It's like, no, we're gonna keep, giving you and either free content, maybe some paid content to kind of keep players, playing. That's important.
Like I said, man, if you ever want to know how to be straight up with it, I will tell you the best way for gamers. Like, season pass needs to be explicitly stated what it is, and the other content should be stated what it is, and I think that'll work best. And there's a rant coming from me with this one.
Okay.
A big ass rant. And I remember that the community manager got into my DMs about it because I set people off with it, and I think he was like, "Yo, bro, what's up? You gotta chill with that shit a little bit." He didn't say it like that, but he knew the deal when I was pissed off. Shout out to PR Nightmare 86 in the chat. I didn't forget about you, Nelson. Stop saying you're gonna choke me out. Stop saying you're gonna put me in the Taz mission. Calm down. It's all good. I see you. And AR, I like your question. Save that for me towards the end, because I do want to ask Bryan that question as well. So please stick around, because I do want to ask that when it came to it. Let us get into the next part of this. Bryan, do you remember the roster reveal for this?
Yep. Nope, I do not.
You guys did something pretty cool with this. Now, normally you would reveal the roster, and I remember people in my XGW group, they kind of loved this. It was weird. They loved the scavenger hunt that would come out like every once a week. And you would have to kind of like play Where's Waldo, figuring out the clues in it to figure out who was in the game. I don't know who thought of that. Do you remember that?
No, not at all, man.
They would release it would be like the Wasteland, and then you would see stuff like, okay, that's the Ascension. A cell phone on the ground, maybe that's Paul Heyman. It would be weird shit like that. Like, you'd be like, oh, okay.
Huh. If that will, that must have been, obviously that was 2K who came up with that. It's probably my boy Bryce, who was the guy in charge of marketing for the WWE franchise, going as far back as the THQ days. Anything cool that you see like that on the marketing side of things, that's Bryce who does that.
Nice. Yeah, they love that. So that was a really like popular idea that a lot of people were digging. So props to Bryce for that then, if that was him. My career, B.
Yeah.
This mode is fucking trash. I'm sorry that I have to bestow it upon you like that, but this
you're telling me something I already know.
Yeah, like, dude, I have no idea what to say to this. Dude.
Talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
I don't get it, man. You're frozen on my screen, by the way. So if anybody's seeing on YouTube, I know that he may seem like he's frozen. So I don't know if you want to like pop your video off and then try and turn it back on or something to see if that'll unfreeze you. But like, dude, this My Career is bad. It's the same shit. It's like people said they were going to listen to us about it, and then, no, who the hell's taking notes on this? It sucks. It sucks. It sucked at 15. It sucked at 16. How does it still suck? I don't get it,
bro. Am I back? Am I still moving?
No, you're good now. You're back.
Okay. Yeah. Man, I feel the pain. Is this what you got into it with the community manager about the?
No. Oh, the community manager was some marketing shit that I was like, oh, this is some garbage. I'll tell you, it's at the end.
Okay. So I know the guy who designed the My Career. Very nice guy. In fact, like he was a guy that was added to the team. He was like he was at 2K already, and then he got assigned to the WWE project. And he was actually a very, very nice guy. Count him as a friend. But he was in charge of designing the My Career, and I wasn't a fan of it in 15. Not a fan of it in 16. It just and in 17, it was just very lifeless to me. It didn't have any sort of identity. It was dull. I guess that's the best way I can describe it.
Honestly, it reminded me of the product at the time too, though, a little bit. It's so weird. There's aspects of it that I love. Like when someone was getting the call up, you're like, hell yeah, Sami Zayn's on Raw, or something crazy like that would have you like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. But then you would go and watch like the main stories, and you're like, I think this was the year with the Royal Rumble where like Kane and Big Show eliminated everybody's favorite people. Like, dog, my heart hurt the entire time watching that damn Royal Rumble. Like, well, seeing just people eat the fist, Big Show and Kane, and corporate Kane at that, just dragging lifeless bodies over all your favorite superstars and dumping them over. And I was like, dude, what is this shit? And then they were like, why did Roman get booed? It's because of shit like this. That's why he got booed. I don't know. This just didn't work for me. The promo engine shit, too.
Oh, was this the promo?
Yes.
Okay. So can I rant now?
Go ahead.
All right. So when I was at 2K and we were doing 15, we had discussed, I remember talking to my boss at the time about a way to gamify promos, because they're such an integral part of what pro wrestling is. And so we, were kicked back, brainstorming some ideas with the intention of one day adding the promos into the game and like making them interactive. So when I found out that they were finally doing that for 17, like I was excited. I did actually work on the promo stuff from our side until I didn't. And my biggest thing with the promo stuff.
Time out. So this was like a baton handoff?
Well, no, I would say a baton handoff. I mean, so they told us that their idea of adding promos to the game, and this was during the time where they were trying to figure out a way, like kind of sharing ideas and designs of how we can incorporate promos and make them an interactive, fun part of the game. And my whole thing about it was that, because I saw what they wanted to do, I read their documents, and then I told my guy in Yokohama, I was like, this doesn't really sound very fun, very engaging. It's very boilerplate what they are trying to accomplish. And the way I explained it to him was, it was like, look, if we tell the fans that we're going to be adding promos, I can guarantee you that the first thing people are going to think of how that's going to work is that, oh, I'm cutting a promo, so it's going to be a dialogue options. Press this button to say that. Press this button to say that. And it's like, that's very boilerplate, very generic. And I thought, we can do better than this. Like, let's be a little bit more inventive, a little more creative about this system. Because I'm like, this isn't really going to be fun. Like, just selecting these various things to say. There was a lot of things wrong with this design. So he told me to, okay, well, put your ideas together and then we'll submit it as a company to 2K. So long story short, I came up with the way, because like I'm very, I pride myself on my creativity and, thinking outside the box. And the thing that I came up with was, instead of, basically just having players just, have this row of text options they can say, it was like, let's not worry about the content so much, because we're the developers. We can have the content of these promos all be fucking dope, because we're going to hire writers to come in and write some very cool lines for all these wrestlers to say, wrestler specific lines for a lot of them, some generic stuff. So let's not focus so much on the content. Let's just imagine that in terms of the verbiage and like what the text is going to say, it's all going to be great shit. My thing was, we should be focusing more on the delivery of that content. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to kind of create a system where, instead of just pressing buttons and seeing these guys kind of pantomime, their lips and all that, kind of just reading the text, like that'll be part of it. But for me, I wanted it to be, if we're going to grade people on the performance of their promos, let's create a system where you're controlling the wrestler's ability to cut a compelling promo to get people to listen. And it was going to be almost something like a rhythm game, where you're not just pressing buttons and then waiting. Okay, what I'm going to say next? Press, waiting. It was, your wrestler was going to be speaking, and you would have to control the tempo and the cadence of their promo to, elicit a response from the crowd. And that was it in a nutshell, like I'm, high level. But at least at that point, as a player, you're actually doing something. Like you're controlling your wrestler speaking in a nutshell. And I guess it was too much for 2K, and they just opted to do this very standard system of just press this, wait, press this. And then the whole thing about, you have these certain crowds it's a hardcore crowd. They're going to boo the baby faces and cheer the heels. And they had all this stuff. And I was like, you guys, and I say you guys, the people at 2K, it's like, look, the fact that, the good guys in WWE are getting booed has nothing to do with certain hardcore cities being whatever. That is an indictment of the booking of WWE. You go to New Japan, go to any other booking.
You cut it out. You cut it out at the New Japan.
So this
part.
whole thing of trying to placate an audience because I'm a good guy to them not bully, it was so ass backwards. And I'm like, you're trying to gamify a part of WWE's booking that is one of its worst attributes at the company. You're just not really fully understanding everything. I say, don't look for WWE in terms of that. Look at a promotion whose booking is sound, who, the crowd's not trying to rebel against what the company is forcing down their throats. Like that's a WWE thing. That is not a pro wrestling thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they were falling into that Bizarro World bullshit that they try to spew sometimes with like, we're in Toronto, it's Bizarro World. I'm like, don't start that shit.
Exactly. So yeah, I was really, really disappointed because it was such it's a good idea, and I was like, this could be something. I mean, I've never seen it in a wrestling game before. Having your wrestlers cut promos that are actually user controlled and is part of the game system, and the way that their presentation of it and the execution of it was just so bland. I play the shit out of 2K19 still, like Universe and all that. I never fuck around with promos.
Neither. I just skip.
Yeah, I don't do that. It's like, for what? This is next. Like, yeah. So yeah, that's my rant on that. I was not a fan of how that was implemented at all, and I voiced it to my team in Yokohama, and they were like, okay, Bryan, we'll just take you off of this. So I was like, thank you, because if they're doing this, I don't want you to mess with this.
He already knew to preserve his legacy with that shit. He was like, take me off the booking team for this shit. I'm done.
Yeah.
But
I was like, if this is what they want to do, so be it. But like, this is a bad idea. This is not fun.
Now, I want to say this too. You brought up a good point. You cut out a little bit with the New Japan part, but I kind of want to go over it and reiterate. And I apologize for anybody listening with the technical difficulties. Hashtag blame Skype. No, it's blame Skype. Because it's them cutting you like in and out a little bit. But when you look at this, I always feel that if your company is booking things right, I won't try to book shit. Like, I felt it last week for the first time ever with AEW. Like, the whole Cody Darby, spoiler alert if you guys didn't see it, Cody gets the win over Darby. You saw it, right? With the coffin drop, the whole, he tried to go too far back. And in the process of it, I saw people, that was stupid. Darby should have won the match. I'm like, are you saying this as a Darby Allin fan, or are you saying this as a person watching wrestling with logic? And people are trying to justify shit. And I'm like, hold on, guys. You're missing the bigger story here. This isn't WWE. There's a larger story playing out in all of this. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, oh, don't start this pity pat bullshit. It's kind of like when you watch New Japan. Nobody in New Japan's like, man, they really booked Okada to win again? Like, nobody talks like that when you're watching. You're just like, okay, good match, bro. So he's the champ still. What are they going to do next? That's how I try to treat things. Like, what are you going to do next? Unless you have like 17 million misfires in a row. Because at this time, I was still buying into the THQ like thinking process with this. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was telling my friends, like, listen, guys, I know 2K15 was rough, but I really trust the people at 2K. There's some good people working on the game. Give them 5 years, man. They got to try to implement everything back in. They had the old code. Dude, fuck was I talking about? It's probably what they were saying at this point. Give them till 2K20. Things should be good by then. Was I wrong? Fucking, like, I don't get it, dude. Like, with this game, so I saw the promo engine. I was like, good things should be able to come from this. At first when I played, I was like, not fully bad, but I think if you add some cool shit to this could be something. And nothing ever got done with it. So I'm not going to talk about it when we get to 18, 19, or any of that other shit. This is hot garbage. Like, you can't put shit in and just be like, forget about it. It's okay. And where are my matches still from 14? Like, give me back my shit. What were you working on?
It is such, so I know this, I don't want this to come across like, you know, me being bitter about 2K, because honestly, like at all, you know, but my thing with them and the people that were entrusted with this franchise is that there was a severe lack of originality and creativity when it came to this franchise and the feature set year over year. There wasn't any outside, you know, thinking outside the box. There wasn't even just like you mentioned, like where's the content that was in last gen that fans are obviously still requesting. Those are gimmies. I'm on Twitter. I read, I hear what the fans, even when, you know, I hear what the fans are talking about. You know, it's funny to me. It's like, you know, bring back story designer, like not original, but you know what? It's something the fans have been asking for years. GMO's another one. Bring back some of the match types that were.
As soon as you said it, somebody put "Where's GMO" in all caps.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, those are easy wins. You know, are they original? No, but you can reintroduce this stuff, make it better than it was before, and the fans will be happy. You do that in addition to, you know, a killer career mode, and then just kind of original, kind of novel ideas and things to do with gameplay, and you've got a winner. But the guys at 2K, and I know this because, like I said, I mean, myself, the rest of the designers, the gameplay designers at YUKE'S, so we presented them with a lot of really good ideas and designs. And again, it's on them, like, do it, you know. But it's just a lack of imagination, a lack of creativity, and it's funny I say that, and then, you know, then in 2K20, I kind of feel that they definitely got creative with a lot of that wacky stuff, but it didn't really, for me at least. I know there are some people who probably liked a lot of that 2K original stuff, but for me, it was like, this is not what I want out of a wrestling game. Like, this is so out of left field that, yeah. So the one year they did get creative, it was kind of like a scratching their head because it's like, well, who asked for this? You know, this is pretty crazy.
Dude, so, who are you telling? Bryan, we finally get the 4 horsewomen. So that was my positive for the rosters.
There we go.
Nah, but here comes another negative. So, in this game, we get Triple H. We got Shawn Michaels. We got Road Dogg. We got Billy Gunn, right? You with me?
Yeah. We still on 17?
Yeah. Yeah, we're still on 17. Oh, there's a slew of problems with this. Where's X-Pac? How can you put everyone in DX in but X-Pac? It just felt incomplete. I was like, dude, you've got Nation of Domination people in, but there's no X-Pac in here. Why? You know, you would think Triple H would look out for one of his buddies to make sure he's in the game or something, but no X-Pac. I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't in. Like, he was omitted randomly. I didn't know. The roster was cool, but it was just a weird omission, I thought, to have all DX but him.
It is weird. When it comes to the rosters, it's like all over the place. I don't really keep track of who's and what, but that is funny to hear that he wasn't in when the rest of those guys were. It could have. I mean, obviously, it was either me having to guess. I don't want to put this on 2K because I'm probably sure that they did include him. Maybe either I can't imagine WWE not wanting to have him, but it could have been a situation. Maybe, you know, X-Pac, and I'm just, you know, guessing. But it could have been a situation where, like, you know, Tommaso and Nikki Cross, maybe he just didn't feel that, you know, the pay wasn't what it was, and he just opted not to sign his contract to appear.
Right.
It could have been just that, you know.
Yeah, maybe you starting the podcast and they weren't feeling that. Who knows? Because he criticizes the company too. He's not afraid to speak his mind. Like he's like, nah, if I think it sucks, it sucks. He's one of the more outspoken ones of out of the DX group there.
Are you looking for the newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
Everything Pro Wrestling, it's your boys from the Everything College Basketball Podcast and Facebook group. I'm Josh Burton, letting you all know that if you like the college game, that there's only one spot to come find all you need to know.
Yep, Josh, Peyton, and myself, Tyler. We are the three voices of ECB podcast and Facebook group. Peyton, tell them where they can find us and listen to us at.
Well, Tyler, you can find us on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all other podcast hosting sites. Also, go join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups like Everything College Basketball.
So if you want everything you need to know about the collegiate game or have a passion for it, there's only one spot that you need to check out on a weekly basis or a daily basis with the Facebook group. That's Everything College Basketball. Now let's get back to Conrad informing you on everything pro wrestling and the workings around it.
Brother.
Another thing that we should probably bring up, the missing arenas. I don't know if we've addressed this before, but damn, this hurt, dog. So they just started the Raw SmackDown Live arena sets. I remember because I went to SmackDown Live. I think it was like the second or third show for it. It was in Buffalo here. And I went to the one where Dolph Ziggler got that number one contender. Robert, wherever you are in the chat, ruined Dolph Ziggler for me forever. When he won, he was like, who cares? He's going to lose anyway. I don't know why you people are cheering. And I was like, damn, bro. And ever since that day, Dolph Ziggler just is a loser in my mind because of him. Oh. Like, and I don't mean that as a nickname. Is a tremendous athlete. He's a great wrestler, and Rob thinks the same way. But he's just like, I can't get behind him anymore because
I feel you.
I know what's gonna happen, bro.
Terribly, yeah.
So,
so what's this about missing arenas?
Like, the arenas just change on you guys randomly. Why is there no heads up? Like, hey, we might be changing the arenas. Do you guys want to update it? Maybe you can put a patch in. None of that ever happens. And it's like, damn, bro, you know this stuff's going to happen. Like, come on.
Yeah. We talked about this before. I mean, unless they tell us, we have no idea. Like, there's just some things that happen in WWE that, when I was at THQ and my year at 2K, like, things happen on programming one week that's new, and you try to, adjust to see if you can get it, whether it's a new lower third graphics or overlay graphics or anything, I mean, they don't give a heads up. They just don't. You kind of just see it in real time like everybody else.
Now I'm going to revert to a positive, though, about some things in this. I will say this arena or this game had some badass arenas from Halloween Havoc. That stage was dope. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Halloween Havoc's always good. I really want WWE to bring that back as a pay-per-view. Stop doing Hell in the Cell. Stop doing that gimmick bullshit. Bring back Starrcade Halloween Havoc. You own the names. It's simple, bro. It's money.
Was 17? Was that the year they did the DLC? What was it? The Hall of Fame showcase?
Yes.
Was that at 17? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Since that was the showcase we did get. So if people were showcase fans, they probably look at it with like a little twinkle in their eye, like, this wasn't too bad. I
thought it was 18, but when you said Halloween Havoc, I'm like, oh, it must have been 17. Yeah.
So we had the Nitro Arena too. The only bad thing about that was we had WWE tables on the outside. I don't know how that was. I missed the attention to details. I was just like, what the hell is this?
Did they?
Yeah, they had WWE tables like where they're normally set up, and I'm like, no, bro, Nitro, they're up top. What are you guys doing? But maybe that was a design thing they couldn't change. But I love the WrestleMania one. So the WrestleMania arena, you guys had it so that you could set it to like the 3 different times. I think it was like day, evening, and night. I really thought that was nice. I don't know if that was a YUKE'S decision or 2K, but that was a nice touch to the arenas.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. I'm not sure who that came from. Maybe 2K. It was probably 2K. But that was a really nice option to have. I like that.
Other thing I wrote down was the rollout for multi-man. This was good, I thought, a little bit, because this is how a triple threat and fatal 4-way really felt. Like when someone gets clothesline, you're out, roll out the ring. Now the focus is back on these two. And normally you guys would have somebody like stay standing. So now nobody's going to roll out because it's you and this guy one-on-one until he either decides to take the hit to the, was it your stamina that went down? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was complicated shit. And you would decide whether to get up to make the save for the pinfall or whatever. It felt like a real triple threat match eventually, though.
That was probably the best thing, gameplay-wise, that was added. In 2K.
You got that right, because you don't want to see the rest of this.
Yeah, that was the good thing. And you're right. Yeah, that was a very clever design, and yeah, it was authentic to how those matches play out. At least in WWE, you know. So yeah,
now, did that come from you? That idea? I figured that sounded like a you idea.
No, that wasn't me. That was, I think, probably Yamamori-san. You know, one of the other gameplay designers with YUKE'S. I want to say that I think that he was the one that submitted that design. But yeah, that was not me.
I like I said, that was one of the best features I thought that they added into the game. We did get lots of new moves, transitions, taunts. We also had the alt submission system added, this time with the button pressing. So instead of mashing just regular buttons, it'd be like press triangle, now go to circle, go to X. I don't know if you remember that, but it would go around in that. And my question would be...
What was that?
You guys implemented like a secondary. So remember how we were talking about the cat and mouse? To go around.
For the submissions. Oh, okay.
So this one you guys added button mashing, but it was just press one button, so it wasn't really mashing, but
it was like the TNA submission system.
Yeah. I think. Well, didn't TNA have it where you would change the buttons consistently? Like it'd be like triangle, circle, X. It would be like the 3 rotations. Yours was like triangle, and then you'd have to watch until it flipped to circle. Now press circle.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe you're right. So not the same, but similar.
Yeah.
To what they did. Yeah.
So when people saw that, was this something you guys could have implemented online? Because online was regulated to just doing the cat and mouse no matter what.
So when it comes to online, like button mashing is something that, we have always steered away from because it can be kind of gimmicked with cheats and everything.
The Rumble controllers or whatever.
Yeah. So that's why we omitted the button mashing from online experience to kind of make it more fair, to kind of mitigate potential cheaters out there who could easily spam, buttons or whatever. So that's the reason for that.
Makes sense. Now, Brian, you can yell at me at any point during this if you want to hop in. The split screen I thought was a nice touch when you got too far away from your opponent, so you could still be walking backstage and someone's laying on the ground, kissing the cement backstage, and you're like, "Where's that trash can I'm looking for so I can hit him upside his head with this?" So I thought that was nice that you didn't have to do that.
That was a good addition.
And commentary sucks. I don't care what you guys say. I've read so many back of the boxes and saw things where it's like, new and improved commentary. Bullshit. This sucks. No matter what. I don't care how you twist it up. It's bad. Bad. We need to figure out a new way, and this isn't just for WWE. Wrestling games need a new way to do commentary. I don't know what's the best way. I don't know if you want to have like I know Madden's doing like, we hire 2 dudes just to do Madden commentary. That's cool. They're like podcast radio hosts. They know football. It's great, but I don't know if WWE's willing to do that, and it takes away from the authenticness, if that's the proper word, from the product. I don't know what to do for commentary.
Yeah, commentary's always been bad, and we talked about commentary a couple episodes ago. The guy, like my friend, he worked on commentary, my boy Bryan. And, it goes like, so commentary is a 2-pronged thing, right? So there's the commentary system itself, the mechanics, and the, everything that works, behind the scenes, the design of the commentary system and like when certain things should trigger. So that's one part of it. which is obviously important as all hell. And the other side of that is the performance. So for me, like, yeah, our commentary has always suffered from both. The nuts and bolts of the system itself is or has been or was very problematic. And then you couple that with the performance of the commentators, and it by and large it's bad. Like and that goes to directing. And I know that this is not on my my friends from the audio team, because they weren't there to direct Michael Cole and whoever commentators they have for the game during their vocal sessions, which is one of the worst things. You kind of have these guys. I mean, the guy that was there, who's a friend of mine, he works for 2K, he does, but he's like the liaison between 2K and WWE. So anytime we need talent requests, we go through my boy Steve, and he sets everything up. He's like, okay, you need Michael Cole this day. He works with the office at WWE to get the scheduling just right. Finds a studio. Boom, here you go. Here are your lines that you need to say, and let's go. And they sit there, Cole, Graves, whoever, and they bang out their lines of commentary. Now, they have no idea. They're there to do their job, and they're looking at this. Okay, so you want me to say these lines? Fine. A lot is missing when you don't have one of the designers there who knows the system, who knows the product, and knows what arguments. Arguments are like the categories of what the commentators say. So like a move is performed, there's certain categories for that. If it's like a big move, a finisher, a mid-move, reversal. Like we have all these separate commentary arguments that fire off when these things happen in game. You need to have the designer there who can explain to, the Michael Coles of the world, the tone and how this is going to be heard and how this is going to be triggered in the game. Because if you don't have that information, they're just reading blind off of this sheet, and they're doing their best, but without someone being there and saying, no, we need you to be more fired up, or, kind of bring it down a little bit, kind of say this line. It's just like a generic bio line. You can be a little more kind of even kill with this one. But, oh my God, an OMG, like the ring broke. We need to really kind of hype that up, and that just never really, it happened a couple of times, but it was never a consistent practice. And I think those are the things that have always hurt the commentary system. From the performance of the commentators, and then from just the infrastructure and the way that system was structured and designed to function, have just never been to a point where I've never once been all the way proud of commentary any of the games that I've developed, and I designed and developed a lot of these motherfuckers. So commentary is very important to me, and sound. Like I talked again a couple episodes ago about how much I am into the sound effects of games, and I've never been all that enthused about the sound effects in our game either. The one thing that I think that stands out to me from TNA's game that Midway put out, well, I thought their audio design was fantastic. Their sound effects were hard hitting and booming, like shit felt like it hurt. Don't remember the commentary that much, but the sound effects definitely were one of the things that really stood out for me in that TNA game. And I'm not even an audiophile. I'm just a guy who watches a shit ton of wrestling and knows how it's supposed to sound. Right. So it's just one of those things that I'm very hands-on when it comes to it. Will be in any future project that we do, for sure. So yeah, that was my.
I'm a big NBA guy, and I think they watch either people playing the game or real basketball while they're commentating it, and I think that's why theirs sounds so good. They get the guys in the studio from wherever they're from, depending on the year of the game, and they get them in there, and I think they're watching the actual game, so they don't have any visual cues while they're watching this. It's not like
we did a little bit of that. Not we did use visual cues. But again, it wasn't consistent.
Real life or video game?
No, we would show them. It might have been both. I know for sure that there were times where, because it was when we first added the OMGs, we would show them video clips of the OMG happening from the game. Like it wasn't all the way finished, but they got enough of a visual of an idea of, oh my God, the rings collapsed because of that superplex, or Oh, he speared him through the barricade. We would show them that, give them something to react off of. But it never became like a standard practice, and not to say that you need it for everything. The most important thing is just to have one of the designers there to direct these guys. You need somebody who is intimately familiar with the system and how these things should sound. And that's just something that, we never had on a consistent basis. And it's hurt us. It hurt us. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
We're done with it now.
It hurt us as a community too. It's very weird. I'm a hop and skip over some of these other things. And you probably know we added post match winning scenes, multiple managers, things like that. Yep. Crowd. They tried to like fix some things like where the crowd wouldn't look at you, like when you're going up the ramp. I don't know if people remember that. Such a small thing, but it was like, dude, why is the crowd still looking at the ring? Like, yeah.
No, that's attention to detail is important.
Exactly. Now, this is the game where like ladders could no longer be put in wherever we wanted. But we did get the ladder bridge. Like, I was happy to finally have that. Like, oh, cool, we could do some Jeff Hardy type shit now off of the ladders. And you got that as a cool thing. And maybe that's the reason why we could do that, because things were set up and it had to be placed in certain areas. But I really miss the freedom, Brian. Like, I don't care what anybody says. You could be in that chat right now telling me something. I don't care. Like, I miss the freedom to be able to put a ladder on the outside, jump through the announcer's table, and do whatever I want. Versus, like, nope, it's got to be in the middle of the ring, son. Oh, God.
Yeah, we talked about this in the last episode. It was quality over gameplay. It was a way for them to mitigate, bugs, essentially, which is something that you want to do and commend, but you don't want to go so strict and so hard with it where you completely nerf all the fun out of the gameplay. SVR 11 was a complete sandbox when it came to like objects and weapons and ladders and shit like that. And yeah, like, was that perfect? No. I mean, I was playing it last week. There's some havoc issues and some things kind of spaz out a little bit, but nothing to the point that at least from my opinion, that I would say that completely would ever take me out of a match. Like whatever graphical issues that you might experience because of the havoc engine was nullified with just the insane freedom and all the cool shit you could do from playing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really wish you would have stuck with that instead of going the complete opposite route.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I see a lot of people in the chat talking about it. And yeah, I know that it's we're on 2K17, guys. So 100% when it comes to that. Here, let me see. I did like the ladder mini game that you guys added with the little. This sounds terrible. The little ball that had to go in the opening spot, where you had to do like the 8 clicks to get through it. I thought that was something that was such like a minor detail, but nice. I missed that. That was one of my favorite ladder mechanics, and the draining the belt. I think that was 06. I want to say 07.
Yeah, I designed that. I snuck that in without Corey knowing.
That was dope, though. I really thought that was good, though. I liked how it looked like it was a title belt. You're trying to pull it down. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I remember, Corey was not a fan of that idea, and I told Yukes to do it anyway. I didn't get too much heat for it.
There was nothing worse than getting pulled down, and there was like this much red or like one spot that had to be filled into the ladder matches, and the next person who gets up there is going to get it, and it was usually like the piece of shit dude who didn't do nothing in the match. Like,
of course.
What's Jinder Mahal doing up there? Got it. No, you better leave that belt on him too. Oh, always made me want to cry. Let's see here. We're not gonna talk about career mode. DLC, we had some pretty cool things, man.
What was DLC for this?
We had Aries, Anderson Gallows, Mojo, Ty Dillinger, the Legend Showcase. We had a bunch of different things in there. Stuff I couldn't be mad about.
Yeah. That was good.
Is it time for my rant real quick? And Obi-Wan, I'm going to get to your questions after this.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit to hear what you got to say.
Okay, so I'm one of those dudes. I think I have a warning on the forum for this. I don't remember if it was this game or one of the other ones, but I definitely got in trouble one time for this because I went off about it and I said it's bullshit and you know it is. And then the community manager sent me a DM because he was like, "I know you've been on here for a long time, bro." I'm like, "Longer than you, brother, longer than you." Yeah. So keep talking that shit. And no offense to whoever runs like the 2K forums and shit. I know they have spam and stuff on there, but they take shit way too serious on there half the time. To where like, please follow the rules. This is all going to be in one thread and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, no one even uses forums anymore. This shit's a dead concept. So, Brian, whatever game you work on, stay the hell out of forums. Send a survey. Spend the money on SurveyMonkey. You can use that website. Like, don't do all this shit like they do with the forums. It's bad. Anywho,
duly noted.
NXT Special Edition for this game. This was the game where you got the Finn Balor like statue, and we were missing some wrestlers from the game. Oh yeah, you know what's coming, don't you?
No, I don't. I just remember the that Finn Balor.
Oh, you don't remember this? Okay. So this is where I call fucking bullshit on the shit they pulled for this. So we were missing, the NXT edition had 3 people in it that was exclusive to the people who got that edition for quite some time before we could buy them as DLCs. They got Apollo Crews, Nia Jax, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, we all know back then, Shinsuke Nakamura was the shit. So they were trying to bait us for more money, already more than the, I always get the digital deluxe. And I'm like, hold on, bro. You mean to tell me that because I don't want some stupid-ass statue and some probably not really autographed cards or whatever, that I can't have 3 players in the game? And I really liked Apollo Crews and Nakamura at the time. No disrespect to Nia Jax. Love you, baby girl, but not at this time. Yeah. I wanted those characters. Even Nia. I wanted all 3 of them. And I'm like, dude, why can't I have them? And they're like, well, you see, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, bullshit. That's not what you said in there. When you guys say season pass, that's what I was purchasing. That encompasses everything. So when I buy a season pass, that means I'm getting everything. That's how it's always been. Why am I not getting it this time? And the community manager went in. If I could, I would show it to you right now. He said, I duly noted feedback. I will make sure that the design team gets this and the marketing team gets this. I will read your email specifically. And I went on a rant because I was like, dude, you're ripping me off just so you can get more money. And I'm like, I might as well wait until the friggin' package comes out because it'll be cheaper. And he was like, I get it. It's a good point. And I'm like, all right, dude. I'm like, I'm just telling you, that's fucking bullshit. I'm not paying for it. I refuse. And he was just like, okay. All right, man, I understand. And I think Zukiage or whoever the forum person was, I think I got a fucking a warning or something for it because I went off about it. I'm just like, not swearing or anything like that because I always know how to put it on there. But I got an uproar of people like, hell yeah, you're right, man. This is bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Brian, what was up with those sneaky tactics, though, with shit like that? I get that you want to sell things. Not a problem. Put it in the season pass. I'll pay for Nakamura. But don't do that shit. And you want me to pay for Mojo Rawley and Ty Dillinger? No disrespect to my man Sean Spears. Like, I love Sean Spears, but you're giving me Mojo Rawley in the DLC and you want me to pay extra to get Shinsuke Nakamura?
Yeah, man.
Fuck this company. That's it. That's how I felt afterwards. Fuck this company.
I don't blame you. I am staunchly and have always been staunchly opposed to using current roster members as bait for shit like this, because it's thievery. It's if you are gonna
I'm sorry, Brian, one more thing. Remember the cutoff things that we would always talk about, like before Mania? All these people were done before then. So I said,
I know.
They were already there.
Yeah, I do remember that because even myself, I thought that this is a shitty practice. I've never liked that because it's cheap and it's just a shitty thing to do because, like you said, I mean these are wrestlers that are a part of the roster. They're full-time roster members. You know, it's for me, it's criminal to force a fan of this product you're asking them to spend $60 for the base game and then to upsell them to get wrestlers that are a part of the roster that just because they know that they are fan favorites, you're then going to tack on an extra charge to get them into the game. I just call bullshit on that, and I've never been a fan of that practice, ever, ever, ever. If you want to do something like that for a legend, like for a wrestler who isn't full-time, like, Ultimate Warrior or whoever, fine, I get that. He's not on TV every week. He's not a part of Raw, SmackDown, NXT. But to take these guys, and they only did it because they knew that the fans would pay for it, because they were, at least for Shinsuke, were very popular wrestlers, and they, the marketing, they preyed on that to get a couple more bucks out of the fan base, and I just think that's shitty. I didn't like how they did a similar thing with 2K20, because like Bray Wyatt or The Fiend, like, wasn't he also behind? Like, you can only get him if you got like the collector's edition.
No, he was pre-order bonus, I think. They
okay,
something.
Same thing. Pre-order bonus or not, he's a regular part of the roster. That's like picking up NBA 2K and then telling players, oh, because he's popular, you have to get the special edition to get LeBron. It's like, but he's part of the team. Like, the Lakers are my squad. I paid $60 for the game and I don't have my best player. Why? Because you want to make more money?
Honestly, the best way to do it would be to just have how do I want to put this? I like how 2K does it, NBA 2K, with like the Legends editions. Like, okay, make the Legend your focal point then. Like, I'm cool with paying for Legends, but don't do that with current roster people. And I saw somebody put Paige. Paige was a different situation though, bro. At least with Paige, she was brand new. Like, she debuted the night after Mania. I completely understand that. And you put her as the season pass. Okay, cool. I'm getting the season pass anyway. Fine. That was bullshit what they did. That was the most out of line thing I think 2K ever did for marketing. So I just had to get that off my chest as far as that goes. Bryan, that
was a worthy rant, brother. I honestly I'd forgotten about that.
Dude,
until you reminded me.
Shit made my blood boil. Like, that was the one time I felt like I got a win from like 2K. Like, when the community manager's like, "Hey, bro, how you doing? Good to speak to you." And I was just like, "Fuck." I still got that message saved too, because I think I was just looking at it right before, because I got on the forums. Shout out to Patrick Gilmore too. If you guys aren't following him, he's saying all the right things. The new I forgot what his title is. Is he executive designer, lead designer? I don't know. I think he's executive producer. Executive producer. There we go. He's the executive producer for 2K games going forward. Rumor has it that they're going to have their forum stuff beginning on Friday, hopefully, knock on wood. So if you guys have ideas, I would write them down and thoroughly think that shit out, so that way you guys can have it to send to him. Let me get to Original Biggie's questions from last week. So he said, around WWE 2K17, 2K18 period, WWE were doing GMs at the time. Was GM mode ever considered? Was it popular enough to the higher ups to consider bringing it back, or was it just like a timing thing? Because that, like I said, that was when the brand split was occurring again. Yeah. Shane's the GM. Like, it seemed like a layup, bro. Okay, they were waiting for this.
I pitched it, from our side. I put together, a pitch to reintroduce GM mode. Because of that recent, because the fact that fans have been asking for it for years up to that point. But then, like you said, especially in light of the fact that they had that brand split again, the separate SmackDown and Raw roster, it felt like the perfect time to bring this mode back. So we pitched it to them, but 2K opted not to do it.
Do they just say no to you, or is this like it's silent? We'll look into that and they never do it.
Well, as I said before, I wasn't able to
communicate,
sit in on anything. I would just get the from my guys in Japan, I would just get the yay or nay, and it was a nay. I pitched GM mode every year that I was at YUKE'S working on the WWE. Every year I pitched GM mode, and it's just I don't know what else to say. We pitched it again. The dynamic was different with me working for YUKE'S versus the publisher. all we can do is present ideas and designs, but it's on them, 2K, to they have the final say on what gets in and what doesn't. And they have steered clear from GM mode for whatever reason. Because I know in terms of, time, cost, all that, yeah, it's a big fucking mode to do, but it's doable. We did it before on the PS2. It's not something that is, would be, we have a track record of doing GM modes. So yes, it would have eaten up a lot of cost, but it would have been something. I think it would have been worth it in the long run. So.
And
yeah.
Flood's asking why was it removed? Can you give him the short version of it? We talked about this previously on another show, Flood. The show that had the last GM mode, the game that had the last GM mode in it, it's covered in there. But I don't know if you want to give him the quick answer for why it got removed.
We were just getting, it was two things just quickly. We were getting feedback that, it seemed, fans were getting kind of tired of GM mode at the time. And it was just a very burly and expensive mode to port year over year into each subsequent game. And we thought that by removing it, we could allocate that cost and that time to other parts of the game to kind of bring them up, which, yeah, ultimately we did. And yeah, go back and watch that episode about SmackDown versus Raw 2008. We go in more detail. But it is something that it's a decision that I regret ever agreeing with. It was, Corey was the one who proposed it, and I did co-sign it at the time. But
hindsight's 2020 with that though, bro. Like the community was split on that at the time. Like I hate when people don't remember.
It's still split.
Like
I still see 50-50 now about GM modes.
Yeah. I don't even think it's 50. I think it's greater now. I feel like there's more people like getting behind it. Like, yeah, we need something new, man. Like bring GM mode back at least. But I feel like people just have this bad memory, like going back to the community. I'm like, dude, people wanted that shit out of the game. They're like, dude, I don't play that. Get rid of that. Bleh, I don't like that. And I don't know, people just don't remember that fans were asking for it to be removed and replace it with something else.
It's like you never know what you had till it's gone type of thing,
Baby, come back. Do 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 do. I guess, man. I'm going to ask Biggie's next question. Screw it. He says, until WWE 2K19, what changes would you have made in order to bring excitement back? Match types, gameplay, improvements. So I don't know if you want to do a top 3 or top 5, Bryan. What would you have done while you were at YUKE'S to make this series better? Like, what were the big things that you thought were needed that you were like, look, we could have, if it were up to me, we would have did these 5 things or 3 things?
Oh, geez. You put me on the spot. Man, the things I've been so divorced from the WWE game, after 19. Like everything that I've been coming up with is for
your next project.
This potential new thing that I'm doing, and like that's what my mind's been at for the better part of almost a year and a half now. So I really wouldn't want to say because I don't want to, tip my hat to what I've got in mind.
That's fair, brother. That's fair.
Some things. Look, I want to give an answer. The one thing I would have done had I been in a position to, like, let's say at YUKE'S we ended up with creative control. So I guess let's take 2K out of it. The one thing I can say is that we would listen to what the fan base is saying. And I think we would start there. Wrestling fans, especially fans of, wrestling video games, are so passionate and so vocal that you'd have to have your head in the sand to not know what people are talking about when it comes to these games. What they like, what they don't like, what they want, what they don't want. And it's always been so easy, and it's one of those things that I look at what 2K, their creative, has done. They've just ignored all of that stuff. Like in the end, these are things that like I said, I've got my thumb to the pulse of the community. I like to think I do. Because I'm a fan too. Like take my job out of it. Like I play these games, and a lot of the things that I want, it lines up with what the fans want. So, I think start there. Listen to the fan base and really give them the game that they are clamoring for, instead of giving him these all fairness, I didn't play the career mode in 2K20, but I saw stuff on YouTube, and it just looked god awful to me. I'm like, it felt like it was designed by someone who is making fun of pro wrestling, who's mocking it instead of being a fan of it. That's how it came across to me. So I don't know, but I will say I got some really cool fucking ideas for my next thing. Original shit that, at least as far as the games I played, I've never seen done in a wrestling game. A lot of it, well, not a lot of it, but
I'm shaking my head, people, because he's just dangling that carrot, and I want to go after it, but I know it's a trap, and he's gonna be like, I can't talk about it, so I'm gonna leave my man Bryan alone. You know how it gets. We get him a couple more of those drinks, though. He might spill the beans. Who knows?
That's why. Only one, dog. Only one until I get done with this.
Drink responsibly. Remember that as well. I don't want people saying this is for kids, because YouTube's trying to demonetize people for that type of stuff. It ain't for kids.
Oh, I should watch my language, and I'm sorry.
No, this ain't for kids. You can swear that it helps. Oh. Trust me. This ain't for you. That's for Stinger. That's not for you, Daddy. That's for Sting. That's for Luga. I wish Stone Cold would have did that in the showcase, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Dude, do we want to talk 2K18? This is kind of like the one game where I'm like, it was cool, but I don't know what else to say with this stuff, Bryan.
Yeah, me neither. I don't even remember what was in this.
Here, I listen, my notes are much shorter for these, so this and 19 I'm probably just going to kind of gush over, but 19 we have some good things to talk about this. So let's just fly through 18 really quick, because I don't want to bore you to death. This is the one with Rollins on the cover. I thought they did a really cool commercial with him, like the architect going in, burning down the warehouse building or whatever. And then we found out the pre-order bonus through the rubble was Kurt Angle. Thank God Kurt Angle was back. I missed having him in WWE video games. Like, bro, that had to be a top call for me for like all the years in between he was gone. 01 to 06 Angle, can't be mad. Angle with the hair, yeah. Bald Angle, the ECW, what were they calling him? The wrestling machine, I think, back then?
Yeah, something like that. Oh, I love that version of Angle. That was right before he left to go to TNA.
Yeah, dude. Kurt Angle was a bad boy. Like, I don't know if any of these younger kids know, but like Kurt Angle would have whooped some ass, bro. Like, he was one of my favorites to watch in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, me too. And he could do everything, man. Like, he could be serious, he could be funny, and he was good at it all.
One of my favorite comedy characters of all time. And then he would be in the main event, though, dead serious, like, dude, I'm going to tap you, I'm going to break your ankle. Yeah. So good, dude.
Kurt's the best.
My career, we added some wandering around. Still not good in my notes.
Yeah.
Check mark that. Still the same old boring shit. Nothing changed. Promo system didn't change. I think it got suckier over the time. It was just like, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't touch it. They didn't improve it at all, I don't think.
Just left it the way it was, listening to feedback. Road to Glory. Here's one they put in. Now, the first year they implemented Road to Glory, I really tried to get into this. Like, okay, I'm going to use my car, I'm going to go online, beat some people up, blah, blah, blah. But Road to Glory was like so because... So this is probably for you for future things if you ever want to implement this. It was so cheesy that I didn't want to be bothered with it. Like, I'm like, dude, these dudes are going to pick up baseball bats, stomp, 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 baseball bat, stomp, 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 baseball bat, baseball bat, baseball bat. Oh, I got 2 finishers now, so if you reverse one, I can still hit you with another one. It was just so cheesy, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to play like this. Like, and like I told you, my mind was always on esports. I'm like, if you're thinking about esports, you have to clean this up. There's no way that you could just allow a person to keep doing this over and over and over again. And I just think they missed the boat with that online. Like, I think this is the last year we did XGW, if I'm not mistaken. And I was just like,
oh, really?
Yeah, we were done after this. We had some issues with people, and then I just started realizing I'm old. I was doing this already, too. And I'm like, dude, I'm focusing on this more. Like, I'd rather work on my podcast stuff than devote my time to any of this mess and arguing with kids half my age about who won a match. I'm like, I ain't got time for this. So, I don't know, man. I know there was a big controversy over the loot crates, too. Is that gambling? How do you feel as a game developer about that? We'll flip the question up a little bit. I mean, do you think it's like bullshit that they're trying to say it's gambling, or are you like against it? Like, hey, get rid of loot crates and say that ain't the way to go.
I don't know if I would say it's gambling. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Like these loot crates in 18, like you didn't spend your actual money. You just used your VC, your in-game currency, right?
But I remember articles were saying that 2K had plans for it to become to the point to where like NBA is. So basically, NBA 2K, you pay for the VC to level up your character. So know they're gonna get. They know they're gonna at least get $100 out of you when you buy the game. Like, hey, if you want to be one of the top best people in the world early on, better pay that extra money for the VC. And that's the gimmick that they run with you. And I used to pay for that. Like, I used to be on a team in NBA, and we would try and win games and everything. You had to do it. Like, if you wanted to be on the team, like, is your guy 84? All right, we can mess with this for now.
Yeah, my thing, I guess, because I'm old school, I'm probably older than a lot of people that are listening to this. But, for me, I think it's, I mean, you're asking, fans to fork over $60 for a game. And then, look, the DLC, you want to offer that, that's fine because it's in addition to.
Correct.
So if you want to add that, by all means, go, do that. But when it comes to unlocks in games, like I'm totally cool with them. If it's just keep it basic. Like if you're gonna have an in-game currency, fine. You win matches, whatever, you get some currency. Oh, I can unlock a thing. But I'm unlocking something that I know what I'm buying. The thing about the loot crates, and it goes back to one of the rants that I had, before about having all these creation parts and moves, all these things locked behind a paywall, whether it's virtual currency or whatever, and then not even knowing what it is you're buying. I hate that. Especially when it comes to like a wrestling game. I just think that is so counterintuitive to what you're asking players to do, which is experience and enjoy this career mode using the character you created. But then we're going to limit the tools at your disposal to make your guy. Instead you have to make as close to the thing that you want to make as possible. And then buy these loot packs that will randomly spit out this shit. Maybe it's stuff you want, maybe it's stuff you don't. It's like it's completely counter to what you want the players to experience. So I'm very much against that. Like I just think that's bullshit to be frank. So yeah, I guess I'm against loot packs and all that, especially when it comes to wrestling.
I think
I want to know what I'm buying.
For your future reference, though, too, for whatever you're working on, I think the wrestling community's against it because it never panned out to where they could charge us for it. No one would pay for that shit. I'm not paying for stuff that's already in the game to unlock for my.
Why would you? It's so and it's like a kick in the balls to know that. So it's like, wait a minute, I just spent, an hour and a half outside of this mode making a guy. I'm in creative moveset. I'm in creating arena. I'm doing all this creative cool shit, playing matches. I go into this career mode, and all that shit I just experienced now is locked to me. Like, fuck you, man. Yeah. And you're forcing me to create my own guy to play this, and you're not giving me the tools to do it. It's just, again, it's one of the laziest design choices when it comes to career modes of any kind in wrestling games. It's bonkers to me. Like I've always spoken out about that. It's bad. It's a bad design choice. So yeah, I guess I'm anti loot packs.
Sick, what's going on, brother? Land, what was it? Land 161 giving you a shout out as well. Travis Starr as well. I'm going to just run through some of these questions in the chat, Brian, because I'm laughing at them. Was Punjabi Prison ever pitched? Because it was at Battleground 2017.
It was pitched back when I was at TSU when they did it back then. we just never. It was one of those match types. It was like we kind of weighed the pros and cons of implementing it. It never rose beyond the discussion point. Like I don't think there were that many people that on the team that were all that excited about its addition. And honestly, if I'm being honest, like I honestly wasn't all that keen to add it myself.
Listen, guys, it's Kylie's match, and Kylie never won it.
Cut in order to get it in.
Yeah, that was stupid. I never liked the idea of that. I still to this day don't understand how that match works. I'm like, wait, what? You go through this door and then it closes, and I'm like, too much shit, dude. Can't deal with that. Let's see here. Next week it'll be a full year since YUKE'S announced their new IP. Jeez, how time has flown by. That is true, AR.
Wow.
Too much time has flown by. Hopefully we get some news soon, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to. I'd love to announce some news.
Let's see. Six said, "Why was that? Like, don't they listen to the wrestling community when it comes to certain things? You could just rewind it back after this. They can just listen to Brian's rant about how they don't listen to the wrestling community. There's obviously a problem with that because people have been complaining about things for years, and as Brian said, it's something that should have been addressed multiple times. Whatever the issue is has to be on their end when it comes to that." Mr. Floodwater has a question for you. As a game developer, do you have to sign non-disclosure agreements?
No, I've never. I mean, it depends. It depends on what you're doing. I've signed one, not when it comes to my past working on the WWE franchise.
Okay.
It just depends. It depends on what it is you're doing. But as a designer working on the WWE games, no, I never did sign an NDA.
Thomas Polster says 2K18 was the last game he bought.
Oh, you should get that 19, bro.
Yeah, 19's probably where it's at. Six said
I got a bunch of them. I'll send you one.
Six said Road to Glory had potential, but was just very poorly executed, in my opinion. Let's see here. Chris Morgan, 2K18, you could pull the straps down for Angle. That is a badass feature, Chris. 100%. That I love when that was a good implementation of that. I think they had it in what was the GameCube games? Day of Reckoning, but it looked weird as shit. Like it looked like a box. 2D part. Yeah, it looked like a box trying to get undressed. Like But you guys made it look smooth in 18. I'm not gonna front. That looked really good. And Sig also reminded me of the XGW stuff. He said it wasn't just that with the league. A large part of it was the game wasn't fun anymore to a lot of us. And I'm like, yeah, it was kind of true too. It was just getting to a bad point. Let's see. But so Mark, okay. I don't know if I should ask this on air. Mark Goldman says, I don't know if I'm throwing you under the bus, but from what I know from my source, they wanted to implement things in 2K20. I'm assuming he's talking about GM mode, but the YUKE'S engine is so broken now that it wouldn't work. Do you have a response to that, Brian? I mean, you can leave it at no comment if you want to.
Well, no, I mean, the engine was old for sure. It wasn't broken because I would say 2K20 was broken, but 19 was a pretty fun game by all accounts. Look, the engine was old. Everybody knows that.
It's got PS1 code in it.
Yeah, that's a known thing. I don't make it too much. It wasn't the engine's fault because we had a GM mode with that old ass engine in 2006, 2007, and 2008. So
you know what? To keep him on the hook too, I think Original Biggie has a question later that's gonna kind of also make you see things the other way too. I'll ask you in a second, Brian. You're probably gonna correct me on how to say this stuff too. Shout out to everybody who's watching, man. Too. If you guys could drop me a like, that would be wonderful. Feel free to Kinshasa that like button, we'll say. Let's see here. Everybody agrees. Six says he loves the fact that got under your skin about the loot crates seeing a game developer get mad about that a little bit. So much respect. Actually, it looks like a lot of the chat are agreeing with that now. They're talking about all the games that they don't like that try to implement loot crates or what was it, like Mortal Kombat cryptocurrency and stuff. Like, don't do that shit. Don't do that. Don't do that, Skip. Let's see here. What else did we have happen with this? Yeah, overhauled commentary. Sure. New graphics. Match Creator finally returned, but we were still missing some of the 2K14 match types I put in.
Yeah.
Free camera. You guys fixed the fading issues with the logos for creative parts. This was the year where I thought a lot of the creators got to shine a little bit more, because you remember how you used to have the blurs on the sides?
I do, yeah.
When you would stretch the logo. So I'm glad that got fixed. We finally get 8 superstars too. That was another thing. I was like, holy smokes, we finally got it. And it took a long time for it, but I wanted that to be done right. I'd rather have things done right than to have them implemented and shit's just going wonky for no reason.
Yeah.
How was that for you guys? Was that like a bitch for like YUKE'S to get that in?
No. I mean, I remember this was the one that was on Switch, right?
I was saving that for the end.
Yeah. This was I remember there being like frame rate issues during development for the PS4, but again, that just goes to the different infrastructure of working on, the Xbox One versus PS4. But the engineers and the programmers, they sorted that thing out. So no, I mean, again, like when it comes to like are things difficult, like I mean, making games is difficult, all the way around. But it's just a matter of if this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. So you just kind of got to get her done. You know what I mean?
Right. This game also brought back the carry and drag, mid-move adjustment, and directional throws. And you guys reworked the kick-out system. This is what we were talking about with you. Offline, I put that down, but online, the buttons would go to the same spot. Something that I don't think a lot of people ever noticed, because shout out to Kevin, who's in the 2K League, and I saw it's going to be on ESPN2. I see you, brother. He was like the master at kicking out. I was like, dude, I used to call him a sharpshooter because that's what it's called in 2K. I'm like, dude, this dude's a sharp, dude. He can freaking hit that little line so good. Like, you would catch him every once in a while, but you were just like, damn, bro, he's going to make you sweat in these matches. Like, all right. Got to put you...
That was an unfortunate bug.
Yeah, I got to put you in the camel clutch, bro. It's got to go down. DLC, we got Aleister Black, Drew McIntyre, Elias. Who do you think's been DLC more? Who do you think we paid for more? It's got to be like between Drew McIntyre, Dusty Rhodes, and like Batista. Like, these are the top dudes I think I've paid for so many times. And maybe Jake the Snake. Like,
it was probably
Dusty.
I was gonna say Dusty, and then maybe runner up be Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mac can dream if you will, daddy.
It was dope to get Aleister Black in the game. As someone who's, I followed his career for, years prior, Tommy Inn, when he was in PWG and doing his thing like overseas, it was as a fan, it was cool to have him in the game.
I remember when he first debuted at that the UK tournament. When he had his match, that was dude. I was like, this dude's a star, bro. They better sign
against Pac, right?
Was it Neville?
Yeah. Neville,
yeah. I'm sorry, Pac. I always try to make sure I get the name straight with whatever company. Yeah, so Pac, Neville. That was a good match though. He impressed me in his try. I don't know if that was a tryout match or if that was to put him on to people.
No, he had already been signed by that point. That was just his debut. Did you see him wrestle when he was on the Indies?
Yeah.
Was your first experience? Okay.
Yeah, I think my first time seeing him was PWG, not too long before that.
Yeah.
So he was always good. We got Beth Phoenix, the Rock and Roll Express. Hardy Boys were back. Not mad at it. It was good. I was there live for that Hardy Boys return. I'm telling you guys, I would put that video up, but I don't want people to ever hear me scream like that. Like, ever. Because New Day did a great job in fooling me, because I was like... Everyone in the crowd's like, delete. I'm like, oh, it's going to be the Hardy Boys. Then when New Day started taking off, like, the hats and stuff and walking down the ramp, I'm like, yo, it's about to be New Day, I'm telling you. And then all of a sudden, you just heard the doot. I was like, ah! That was the loudest I've ever heard arena, dude. Like, it was rumbling.
Yeah, I was there, too. That was Orlando?
Yep. That was the last Mania I went to. Just good time.
Yeah.
Went to Daytona Beach that day. Like, it was just good times.
That was my last Mania, too.
Yeah, shout out to the lady, too, who said I didn't know nothing about Biggie, and then I rapped every word in front of her face. I'm like, get out of here, lady. From New York. Talk that craziness to me. But that's it for 2K18. I've got nothing to say about it. It's just a mediocre game, but I think it was the beginnings of seeing something great, and I guess that'll lead us to talking 2K19 real quick, B.
Yeah.
AJ Styles on the cover. Perfect person to have on the cover. Did not like that little media thing they tried to do with him announcing the $1 million challenge. Oh,
It's a great cover.
it's a great game, dude. I think by this point, I think by 18 I was digital only. Like I just got tired of going to GameStop, and
I don't blame you. That's what I've been doing. I just bought the.
I'm like, I'm too damn old to be standing in line talking to some kids, talking to
Yeah.
dudes who look like Cause. Like, yeah, I'm here for WWE. Like, and it was always like when another game would come out, and I'm the only dude there for WWE. It's me and the dude with like the big crazy punk rocker pants on with all the buttons on them and stuff. Yeah, we need my careers for WWE, man. So thanks, man. Have a good night. It's just I didn't have time for that shit anymore. But AJ Styles being in this game, great person to have on the cover. I did not like the $1 million challenge announcement. It felt like he wasn't prepared enough for it. I don't know what happened with that. It sounded cool though. Someone was going to win $1 million. That's what I took from it initially. We got the Daniel Bryan showcase.
Yes.
I love that actually.
So funny thing about that is that we were talking about doing a Daniel Bryan showcase way back in 2014, like when I was still a part of the project at 2K.
Wait a minute.
That's how far back that idea goes.
But what were you going to put in for content for that then?
Pretty much everything we did in this one. I mean, it was, it started, because it was, it was a whole yes move and all that, kind of starting with his velocity match and everything like that. It was something that we talked about, but yeah, it never got off the ground, which honestly, I'm glad it didn't at the time, because it would have been premature, obviously, to do it back then. But it was one of the showcases we were potentially discussing, because he's got such a great career. And I actually wanted to go back and add Ring of Honor stuff to it. But I was glad that for this to be my last WWE game that I worked on, I'm really glad that AJ was on the cover, that we got to cover my boy Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, who's one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and we got Ricochet in the game. It was for me personally as a fan, it was like a great send-off. Like if this was gonna be my last, I was like,
you know what though, that's not a bad way to go out. And here's the weird thing with this showcase, I liked it because it was formatted WWE Network style too. Like Bryan's telling you the stories behind it, and then it goes into the match. And I felt like, dude, when Bryan had to retire, I don't know, the retirements always get me a little bit in the heart. I'm just like, damn, bro, I know that hurts this dude a lot to not be able to wrestle anymore and do what he loves. All right, bro. You know what? I'm going to save my question. No, I'm not. I'm going to do it now.
What's up?
The $1 million challenge, bro.
Okay.
Was that shit set up or what? Somebody's got to tell me the truth here, bro. That dude worked for WWE previously. There was no provisions in saying you couldn't do it. And I know he came in as a third party maybe to host a house show event or whatever. But how did this dude get to be in this? I don't know. A lot of people thought it was rigged after that, and that left a bad... 2K knows how to just ruin shit. You left a bad taste in people's mouths. I was like, dude, I don't want to buy your games anymore. Number one, your tower was super hard for this, and effing ridiculous trying to play through it. Did you beat it yet? Have you beat it?
No.
I've never beat it either.
We talked about it last week, where I was like, I've gotten really close. It's just the damage you get from counters just always gets in the way for me, So I never completed it. And honestly, I have nothing. I don't have any information about that giveaway or about I heard just probably when everybody else found out that this guy he works for. Did he actually work for WWE or
I think he hosted. I don't know who hosts the live events sometimes, but he was one of those guys. He would come in, host a live event, and usually it's not eligible to employees or former employees of WWE.
But he probably was an independent contractor.
Correct. But it seems a little odd that he would win it, and then he was front row at everything. He carries around the belt. He wears the little gold tuxedo. And I'm not disrespecting you, bro. You were probably good at the game, but it was just that seems kind of cheap once people heard that. Bad taste. I mean, bad.
I don't blame anybody for second guessing that or wondering if the fix was in, because it does it doesn't really seem on the up and up. But honestly, I had nothing. I don't have any other information I can add to it. I was not involved in that contest. That was a marketing thing through and through. So I have no idea.
Not mad. All right, let me go to some fan questions because they're asking some good ones in the chat here. Flood says he was at WrestleMania 33 as well. Too epic. Isn't it crazy? We're all sitting here talking about wrestling now on like a YouTube video, and we were all there and none of us saw each other.
In the same building, yeah.
Exactly. Mark Goldman says he's got two questions. One, WWE 2K19 implemented the reimagined Hell in a Cell and cage matches. What are some references you took with designing them?
Well, anytime you do a match design, a new one, a revamp, you just look at what has been happening within the product. So I actually didn't work on this design, so I don't have a whole lot to offer, but I know just having, worked on other, match designs or redesigns, you just look at the landscape, you see what's going on within WWE at the time, and, what are they doing on TV that we are not allowing, players to do in the game, and you kind of work from that avenue.
Okay, and his next question was, and paybacks played a big role in 2K19. The system was really fleshed out and helped gameplay. Was the list bigger, or did some not make the cut?
So this was something that, the designers at 2K worked with the designers, obviously, at YUKE'S. I don't know of any things that were like left off the cutting room table. I know that, like one of the designs that I put together for 19 ended up being incorporated within the payback thing, the payback, design or whatever. Because I didn't know about the payback. Again, it was kind of like I was like persona non grata. Like I wasn't really privy to a lot of these things. I was just designing stuff on my own. And then when I had submitted that, the design for the cheap shot, it was going to be a new skill where I wanted to get rid of all of the like the low blow. Strong attacks or strong strikes and anything that's blatantly illegal that was in the moveset. It always kind of stuck with me that these are moves that you can just add to anybody's moveset without any kind of repercussion. So I came up with this system of taking these moves out of the moveset and making them into these skills where if you can distract the referee's attention, you'll be able to hit somebody with the poison mist, brass knuckles, or you hit him with a low blow. When the ref's back is turned by removing the turnbuckle pad or whatever, and that ended up being incorporated within the payback. I don't know of anything else that was presented that didn't make the cut, because a lot of it was kind of just taking things that had been in the game before and just kind of rejiggering how these things would function into this payback system, which I thought it came out pretty good.
Yeah, I thought this wasn't too bad. I think there was one that was more overpowering than anything. Everyone always changes theirs to resiliency. Like when you play online, everyone's like, yeah. Let me get that extra kick out. And I think it's just the way people play, so that's probably something you can think of in the future too. If people are going to be able to change those, everyone's going to switch it to resiliency because everybody wants the extra kick out.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's in the WWE's thing. That's not going to be anything I fuck around with.
I know. I'm just letting you know that's just why I don't know why you would give people that option, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm always weird about using those types of things. So I think this was implemented much better than when we talked about like 08.
Yeah,
I liked how this was put in a lot more.
They basically just they're the abilities. Like I'm glad that resiliency stuck around for as long as it did. That was like one of the first things that I designed when for what was it, SVR 09. That's gone from, it's been through a whole a wide gamut of systems throughout this franchise. I was glad to see that it's hung around.
And the name stuck too. See?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Let's see here. Thomas Polster says 7 versions of Daniel Bryan, a little too much for me.
Yeah, I'm surprised that question never or hasn't been asked yet about how or why. Certain wrestlers take up so many spots on the roster. Because, there were a shit ton of Daniel Bryans in this game. And it basically, anytime you see, 19 wasn't the first. I mean, I think as far back as maybe 2K15 or where we had multiple versions of the same character.
It was in there for years, though. Like, I think by the point to where we were talking about it, it just happened. And I kind of get it. Like, it was mentioned previously, like you couldn't add another person without changing the entrance specifically for somebody. Like I said, my thing is I would always just want like a superstar closet similar to how Madden and NBA let you pick like the jerseys and everything else. You go in, what sting do you want? Okay, give me Crow Sting's face paint with. Oh, I could do Sting's special looking jacket in WWE. It looks like TNA Sting a little bit. Okay, I give that. Like, I would rather go through that, and then you kind of pick the entrance music, the motions that are associated with him. I think that would be something really cool. Maybe
now, this is one of those. This is one of those things where that one guy was asking about trying to throw shade at the engine. This is a byproduct of the engine. And it's not the entrances, really. There's a workaround about that. And it's not even a thing where, had we had time, we could have, spent the time to kind of correct it. But it essentially boiled down to, if one version of a wrestler has any kind of modifications to their moveset, it has to be slotted as a separate character ID. It really just boils down to that. So if you're dealing with a Daniel Bryan where maybe, the entrances can be different, but if they're finishers, so let's say Daniel Bryan before he added the knee strike that he got from Kenta, if just by having that new move added to his finisher, you've got to split that off into a different character model. It really does boil down to just that, and that's why some are just attires. Because that's all it is. It's just whether it's an entrance or a cosmetic change to their gear, but the moveset is untouched. It can remain within the same roster ID, just subdivided. But if you have to make any modification to the moveset, then it has to be split. But that's one thing out of several that I've encountered throughout my time working on this game, where I've taken note, and I'm sure the guys, the engineers in Japan have also taken note about. When we do whatever we do moving forward, it's gonna, brand new engine and all that. Like, these are the things, these experiences, and these kind of, the inability to do certain things are things that will be taken into account with whatever new project that we work on. So there will be an easier workaround instead of, forcing one superstar to occupy more than one slot, because it did get pretty ridiculous at a certain point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I really want to have. Like I said, you go back and look at a game like No Mercy. I love the fact that I could pick 4 attires, but we couldn't edit movesets back then, though. You couldn't touch that shit. It was one or the other. And then the next games with THQ, you could edit the movesets shit, but you couldn't touch the attires. So it's like, I want to just get it one day to where we could just do both. It's our sandbox. We could do what we want. And I think that's something that would just be really cool. Let me see here. Mark Goldman says, I remember when they announced the mystery match in the game and everybody speculated that was going to be Daniel Bryan versus Nigel. Bro, I would have lost my shit if they had that.
Man, that would have been so freaking dope.
And he said in the end it was Daniel Bryan versus Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. The Nigel would have been a better match. Small thing about that. So because of how much I love, I'm a big fan of Bryan Danielson. When I found out that's what the match was, I was like, oh, okay, this is all right, whatever. But my thing was, I was like, look, if we're gonna have, was it Daniel Bryan versus his older self or his Ring of Honor self, I suggested putting Bryan Danielson in his burgundy attire that he wore, that he's was known for in Ring of Honor, because I think they just had him in the attire that he had, the white attire from his Velocity appearance. Mm-hmm. And I was really trying to push to get him in his trademark burgundy, but 2K said no.
In my mind, that's what I was thinking too. I think you guys should have made him like a souped up version too, like super difficult. Like you're about to face the Ultimate Wrestling Machine and you don't know it. Like you could have did so much more with that, with one little tweak or whatever. But I'm not mad at it. It was one of the better things that they did. Like I said, this is one of the better games, so I'm not gonna punch him too hard in the gut. Like all right, you tried. Sick came in and said, I'm a huge Ricochet fan and I hate seeing what they're doing with him in WWE. Hurts my heart to see.
Me too.
Shout out to Flood, who said he did beat the AJ Styles $1 Million Tower.
Oh, nice, brother.
Let's see.
You're a better man than me.
Sick said that dude wasn't good. I would have smashed him. He said, you don't understand. I would have embarrassed the guy. It wouldn't have been pretty. Original Biggie laugh out loud.
I would have paid to see that, man. Because, yeah, I don't think he was good either. I mean, he went up against AJ. AJ didn't even play the game.
Well, AJ kind of got like, I don't remember. There was some weird stuff happened. He's like, oh God, what's happening here? And I was just like, AJ, you play this shit all the time. Like, when I met AJ, bro, I saw his video game setup that he travels with, and I'm like, bro, what is this? Like, come on, dude. And it was just like, what happened, AJ? Man, that daggone controller. I'm like, yeah, this sounds like him when he loses in Madden on up, up, down, down. I'm out. I'm out, bro. You made it to the finals and you blew it. But no, AJ's a cool dude though when it comes to gaming and stuff. Like, absolutely. Yeah, let's see here. King says, do personality traits play into the logic of the match that much? Like, why doesn't 2K just implement them into the logic system?
Yeah. They do. But the thing is that the changes are so gradual that if you really want to see any kind of like meaningful change in their behavior, you kind of you don't want to be subtle about it. Is what I'll say. Like, you want to either max it out one way or the other, or as close enough to it. If you kind of waffle in the middle, like whatever changes to the AI logic you'll see will be slight to non-existent. And that is one of the things. Like I like that we had those added into the game, but I think there was a better way that we could have implemented them. But yeah, that probably would have been one thing that had we continued with the game because I think there was a lot of potential with those personality sliders. I think they just needed a little bit more attention and maybe a slight redesign to make those things a little bit more apparent, like the behaviors more distinct. But yeah.
AR just asked, did you guys ever want to have a higher difficulty level than Legend?
No, not to my knowledge. That was never anything that I remember having any discussions about having something above Legend. I think it was more or less, because honestly, that's not even really the thing. I mean, if Legend's not difficult enough, I think that was just something that we needed to have addressed. I think the settings themselves are fine. It's just more, maybe more differences between like from the easy to the normal to the hard to the Legend. Making changes to that probably would have achieved the same thing.
Yeah, I think the gaps just need to be a little larger between them.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just go through these last few things, Brian. What did you think of Towers as a mode? I know this was suggested. I believe they said it came from like Pulse, from him bringing stuff up when he was there.
I don't have a strong opinion about it one way or the other, so I'm not sure.
Like Pulse said he wanted different shit. Like he wanted like the lights to go out and different. Like they didn't implement it the way he wanted it to be done, but I felt like this was like some Mortal Kombat ripoff shit, and I tried to play through it, and eventually I was just like, dude, I don't like this. Like,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't have. Yeah, I think they were definitely inspired by Mortal Kombat. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was bad, but at the same, if you ask me, like, how much time did I spend in Towers? I'd go in, play a match here or there. I think it was maybe just a wasted opportunity with some of the stipulations that they had. I don't think maybe if they went, I don't think they went far enough and making the matches different. You know what I mean? Outside of you had the big head mode, but it's like, all right, well, that's just a visual thing. I mean, you're not really changing the experience. But cute. It's kind of cool to see. The 8-bit kind of filter they put again, like. As an aesthetic, yeah, that's kind of cool and stuff. But I mean, for me, like the thing that made those towers for Mortal Kombat so cool is that it really does drastically change the gameplay. And I think maybe for the towers, they didn't go far enough.
And I think that's what Pulse said he wanted too, was like gameplay changes. Like, okay, X button doesn't work now for this match.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck? Oh, okay.
Because I mean, I love playing in Mortal Kombat because they were really inventive and creative with some of the handicaps and then some of the kind of player strengthening things that you could do, where it really was a separate gameplay experience apart from the normal experience you get from playing the story mode or exhibition. So
yeah. we had that big head mode, bro. Let me just go to that since you brought it up. The hell, like who? What is this, Nitro? I don't care about this. To me, it
Yeah.
just made clipping worse. Like, what are you doing?
I was surprised that they added that.
You know what, though? Brian, let me say this. I think this goes back, and I don't want to disrespect the YouTube dudes because it wasn't them. Because the suggestions I heard that they made were pretty decent. It was more so like, dude, they said make things fun, and this isn't fun. Like, big head mode isn't fun. You'd play that one time and laugh, and then you'd be done with it. Or 8-bit mode. Like, to me, you're wasting your time on shit when you could be fixing shit that's the real problem.
Yeah. I like when it comes to the big head stuff. Like, do I hate it? No. I'm just nonplussed about it. I mean, it was an option. I never played with it on outside of the times that it was on in the towers or whatever. But I'm sure there are people who like that kind of stuff, and it's like, hey, I mean, yeah, by all means. I mean, it's not. But again, like that's not something that's gonna make or break a game as far as like, oh, I got to get it because they got big head mode. Like those are, it's a cosmetic thing. But yeah, you're probably right. I mean, if they were talking about making the game more fun, I think they're just talking about the gameplay itself. Not any kind of aesthetic changes to the models. I mean, because it still plays the same. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really not into that kind of stuff. I mean, it has its place, I guess, but everybody's got their own.
It's neither here nor there. It's just one of those like, dude, I thought we were past this with Nitro. That's just how I felt with them. Like, the fuck, okay, whatever. Universe mode did a lot of small fixes. The pre-order bonuses were Ronda Rousey, Rey Mysterio. Thought that was kind of cool that Rey debuted back, and you got 2 pre-order bonuses for once, so not mad. Rousey was an attraction too, so to me, this is the perfect way for you guys to cap off like YUKE'S being involved with the series.
Can I just go back to Universe, because there were 2 things that I finally got added to this fucking mode.
Please.
That I have been wanting to have for years, and they're not big major things. Because I remember going as far back as SmackDown vs. Raw 11, when my boy Dan Ryan, the original designer, because he had asked me, he was like, "Hey, so what would you have in this mode?" And the 2 things I told him, like, dude, you gotta have an option where I can choose the match types that I want to populate my match card. Because there are certain match types, as a fan of this game, I don't want to have to, that I don't play, and I don't want to have to be forced into editing, these matches on the match card. Like, give me an option. Like, let me set the type of matches that I want to have available. And I remember Dan was like, I don't know, who cares about that? I'm like, dude, I care about that. Should be enough. He's like, nah. So I mean, that was a long time ago. So I finally, I got that in this year where we implemented the match table. So, like, if you didn't want to have 6-mans, or if you only wanted to have, a one-on-one or, whatever match, like, you could set that for your universe. So I was really glad to get that in the game. And the other thing, and again, it's a small thing, but it's something that I've been pushing for years, is I'm cool with the simulation aspect of, like, simulating the matches. But if this is a universe and, we're giving players all the control, I want to be able to have booking power as well. Like, let me simulate, but if I want this guy to go over, give me that. I want players to have that option. So we finally had that added in 19, which those 2 things alone made me spend more time in Universe, because I'd play the match types and the matches that I wanted to play, and if I didn't want to, I could at least sim those matches, but I could have the person who I wanted to go over. So I was very glad that we finally got that implemented.
Yeah, I thought you guys did a good job with the Money in the Bank briefcases too. First, implementing the cash-ins much better, and I like the Money in the Bank briefcases turned into custom designs eventually. I thought that was dope too.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It was like a nice little, nice to have type thing.
Before we finish off with Obi-Wan's questions, Sig said, going back to the Switch real quick, I recently bought a Switch and I was noticing they don't have any good exclusive wrestling games for it. Does Bryan ever see himself doing an exclusive game for the Switch?
An exclusive game? Don't know about that, but
a port maybe?
But possibly I could envision us doing something for that console. In the very near future. I know that, the Switch is a very popular machine in Japan, and I mean, it's popular here too. And it's been a while.
Lots of sales recently too with all this going on.
Yeah, and I know that's the console that's in desperate need of a quality wrestling game. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, man. Listen, Sig bought Streets of Rage on the Switch and the PS4. I just got Streets of Rage as well.
How was it?
Beat that. Listen, bro. So I played it in one day. My wife was like, listen, I'm about to go to work. You got the baby. You about to be by yourself. But I was like, babe, but the streets need me. And she just looked at me like she was about to slap my head off my shoulders. And I was just like, all right. I ended up beating it, though, because my baby fell asleep. But, dude, when I woke up the next morning, my thumb hurt. And I forgot playing, like, those beat-em-up games, how much you, tap. I was in there going to work, like, good bosses. It was a fun, like, to relive that for what it was for the price, $20, $22. It was fun for what it was. If you're a big fan of Streets of Rage, I just want to know where my boy Skate is. I didn't see Skate.
Skate, yeah.
that was my boy. That's what I always used to pick back in the day.
Yeah, I love Streets of Rage when I was a kid. I have to check it out. I picked up Star Wars Fallen Order yesterday on sale. Playing that.
I'm a big nerd, man. Listen, I used to like Pit Fighter 2. I don't care. Like, man,
I sunk so many quarters in that game. That shitty game, but it looked so dope at the time.
It did. You were like, yeah, this is dope. Look at this. I'm about to beat this dude up in a bar. Good times, bro. Good times.
Yes.
I guess let's end this. Sig just said Streets of Rage 4 is a great game. Made me feel like a kid again. Agreed, brother. Agreed.
All right. That's enough for me. I'll check it out.
Obi-Wan. So we're going to end on these two good questions here. Obi-Wan says, could you go more in depth about the, now, I don't know if I'm saying this right. It's Alice 0, ALIS 0 technology, and how much of an impact to WWE Games would it have had if 2K would have agreed? And would the physics and gameplay improved, like would lighting and shadows improved? How would the new pipeline work when it comes to that? So I'm not familiar with this technology that he's bringing up, but it's something that YUKE'S says that they have, I believe, when I believe your boss brought it up before, like with technology that they've had that they haven't been able to use. And I guess maybe that's a good place to start too. Like, it seemed like when this relationship ended, you guys were kind of like, you were tired of feeling like robots too. This is a big convoluted question a little bit, I know.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like robots.
Like you guys seemed like you didn't like the control part. Like you didn't like not having a say or control. Like it seemed like 2K would just be like, do this because we said so.
That's a fair statement.
Okay.
That's a fair statement. And that Alice Zero, that technology that Hiromi was talking about in the article, that's tech that we use for our what's the name of it? It's a project that the company does. It's only in Japan.
Is that the technology? So I think I saw a video about this, Brian. Is it so that you guys could possibly, let's say, mocap moves live? Like you could basically do a live match and have it play through?
Yeah. Damn, I cannot believe I'm forgetting the name of.
I think I saw. And let me give credit.
ARP.
Okay.
ARP, augmented reality performers. So basically, what it is it's this thing that we do that the company's been doing for the past couple of years now, where they. Now look. I mean, when Hiromi made this, when she did that interview, and she's talking about how this technology she wanted to use it, like those are conversations she had with the people at 2K that I was not privy to. So I really don't know what she had in her head, but I know that the tech she's talking about that we use for ARP is that it basically is we have created our own idol groups, these anime characters, men and women, and they are projected. It's augmented reality. So they're projected on a stage, and we basically hold concerts with these anime-looking idol groups, singing groups, and it is done in real time so you have, the projections on stage, and they're really, the shit's really fucking dope. And backstage, you have motion capture performers that are singing and dancing in real time, and their emotions are being fed into the projections of these anime characters. And it's the mocap technology that we've created for that is what I think Hiromi was talking about, because it really is some pretty remarkable tech that the company came up with, because it minimizes and it reduces so much of the middle ground of the cleanup, because you can mocap and source the animation in a much quicker turnaround than what most typical motion capture that's required for most typical motion capture, where you record the motion. It's then got to be processed by various animators to clean up the data before it can then be implemented into the game. And we've kind of circumvented that with this tech that she was describing. Now we use it for this way to project these singing groups onto these stages. And like we sell out arenas in Japan, like in Yokohama and Tokyo. Like kids, like it's really big with kids. Like we sell albums of these acts and all this kind of stuff. But that's the tech she's talking about, and it is a way that we can incorporate it with any project. It doesn't have to just be wrestling, because it just makes it that much easier and faster. We can add motion capture data into any kind of product that we're doing. The turnaround is just like night and day. So how that is incorporated within a wrestling project is honestly anybody's guess. I mean, that would have to be determined based off of when working with our engineers and our programmers, and basically once you figure out, okay, well, what are we making? What are we going to be developing? And can this tech be used to make the development of this game easier? But those are all things that have to occur, like, in various stages. But that's Alice Zero. Like, that's the tech she's talking about. And I think you can probably YouTube like ARP. I'm not sure how many hits you'll get, because again, like, of right now,
I think WrestleGamia or Viking Side, someone just had a video up and it showed a little bit of it. That's how I knew very little about it. I remember her making the statement about having other technology, and I was like, oh, I wonder what they have.
Yeah,
but
it's really cool stuff. I know Hiromi sent us an internal email because NHK, which is like a CNN in Japan, like they did a news story on it, and they kind of took you behind the scenes of an actual event where you see the concert happening in real time, and then the camera crew goes behind the stage, and it's a mobile mocap studio basically. You set up everything, and you've got the performers within their designated area. They're dancing. You've got the singers over there doing their thing, and it's all being projected in real time. I mean, we're using it right now for this, but I mean that's something that you could.
Does it as a developer, does it make you kind of like salivate, like, oh, if I got the chance to use some of this?
I mean, yeah, I mean it's very cool stuff. I mean, and to see what can be done from a wrestling kind of bent is it's a cool creative exercise to kind of come up with. Yeah, I mean it's just Like I said, I'm not the tech guy, but that is the nuts and bolts of what that technology is and how we're using it right now. But I know that Hiromi wants to expand the use of this tech to something beyond what we're currently using it for with the idol groups, because it's pretty malleable. You can use it in a variety of ways. And like I said, it just saves so much money on mocap. You kind of X out the middleman of paying another group of people to process the animation data when it basically can just be fed and done in real time.
Tears. Sig just made me aware too that I have to unlock Skate, so I obviously have more work to do.
He isn't.
Yeah, he's in there.
Nice.
Good. Someone's about to taste some rollerblades. Let's see. Now I got 3 questions in here. As I told you guys, Brian's gonna answer. I'm gonna give him one more question, and then I'm gonna have him get out of here. But I'm gonna ask Biggie's last one, and then AR did say I did say I was gonna ask this again. He said, was there ever talk of adding story designer mode into universe mode?
Into universe mode? I don't know about that. There was always talk about reintroducing story designer. Up until I left 2K or I got fired from 2K. Like that was always because we knew how popular it was. But again, like GM mode, it's one of those things where it's like you don't have to go out of your way to find out that this is a mode that people have been asking for year over year to have it reintroduced into the franchise. And I'm surprised that it's something that 2K never, requested or
fell wayside.
Felt the need to re-add it to the feature set. But yeah, I mean, that was always. I mean, look, I think I mentioned this when we were talking about 2K14. Like, we knew that by going to next gen, when we were developing 15 for Xbox One, PS4, that we were not going to be able to bring all these modes over in 1 year's time. But at the time, like when I was there, the thing was that we would gradually reintroduce these modes year over year, so that we'd get back to the feature set that we had before we made the leap from last gen to what is now current gen. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I have no idea why 2K never felt the need to want to have that mode reintroduced into the game.
And honestly, I hope people have that same expectation going into the PS5. And what was the new Xbox called? Is it Xbox
Series X?
Xbox confuses me
Series
with their names. Xbox X, One X, whatever. The new generation of consoles, we're going to have the exact same problems, guys. We're going to lose some stuff. Graphics are going to be great, probably, but you're going to lose a few things, too. It's part of the game that we play. You know it's coming.
But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe, hey, I think this guy, like you mentioned him before, but the new executive producer over there at 2K, like, he seems to get it. Like, he's saying all the right things.
Oh, I was talking in general, for general games.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, this dude, look, y'all got extra time. And I'll save that for next week, maybe, when we talk about, like, when we're doing Q&As and stuff. 2K, This is your last chance to get it right, is basically what I put. Like, you are, I don't know what I want to say. You're walking the plank. Like, you're at the edge right now, and the fans are behind you. Like, do we push you or do we pull you back? So, I think it's on them to just make right with all of this. I don't know how you do it.
If that what was it? Is it Battlegrounds, that arcade game?
Yeah.
If that comes out, and if that's a good game, that'll go a long way towards starting to repair things. And if they are serious about taking their time with the mainline WWE game, I mean, look, they have it in them to knock it out of the park. So, for all the fans out there, all the WWE fans, I mean, I hope they do. I really do. They have all the resources. It's not like they don't. And this new guy they have seems to be, obviously you can say whatever you want, but the proof's in the pudding. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Like I said at the beginning, he's saying all the right things.
Yeah.
He's hitting it. Last question from Obi-Wan, and you kind of addressed this a little bit, but I think he just wants the in-depth, and if you can't comment or you don't want to, feel free. What was the situation before YUKE'S leaving 2K? Was it a power struggle with 2K having complete control? Was it that the YUKE side and 2K side couldn't get along? Did someone piss the wrong person off and everybody suffered? Like, I think he's trying to understand, because to me, the community sees it as 2K said, we'll get rid of YUKE'S and it'll be better. You got rid of YUKE'S and it got worse. Like, the community's like, it feels like the mom and dad scenario. Like, well, It was better with him, and you said it was going to be better with you, and it wasn't.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't get into. I can't get in. I can't. I'm not. I can't provide a satisfactory. The answer that you want about why things ended the way they did. They just did. They wanted to take it in house. 2K. They wanted to develop the game internally as the publisher and as a person who has the rights to the WWE license. They were well within their rights to do so. It was a business decision, and they made it. That's pretty much like all I can say about it.
And I'll leave it at that, Brian. Listen, so next week, here's what we're going to do. Brian's going to be here for a Q&A. If you guys ask pretty normal questions, if I see any weird crap, I'm just gonna not include it, but I'm just keeping it a buck with you guys. But if you guys ask him some questions, I will include him. So next week's just pure Q&A. You can ask Brian who's his favorite New Japan wrestler. You're cool with whatever, right? Like,
yeah. Any question, and from SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 to 19, and any question outside or in between that.
So if we've missed anything that you want covered, let us know next week. You guys will see it. I'll put it up on Twitter as a thread. Usually I'll have it under hashtag AskEPW, so look for that hashtag throughout the week. Also, I'll probably put up a picture with it with like the EPW logo, hashtag Ask EPW, questions for me and Bryan Williams, whatever. And we'll both try to answer them. Mostly Bryan, you guys are probably going to want to hear from. So we'll answer those questions next week. It'll be a free-for-all, and it'll be Bryan's last week on the pod. So make sure you guys come up with some good ones for him. And, yeah, I think that's it, Bryan. Anything you want to say?
Happy Cinco de Mayo. I'm gonna have to pop open a new soul here in a second. And once again, man, it's always a pleasure talking with you, talking with the fans out there. You guys have asked some really good questions. I hope I always feel bad if I'm not able to provide like satisfactory answers, but I'm doing the best that I can, and I enjoy this. This is fun.
Yes. Justin, shout out to you in the chat, brother. I saw the stuff you were writing too. I never gave you your shout out. Original Biggie said thank you to both of us for asking and answering his questions. He really appreciates it.
Thank you, OB.
Yeah, you guys are the best. We'll be back next week, like I said, with this. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Looks like we did some really good stuff on these streams here. So thank you guys so much for this. We'll be back next week. Like I said, follow me on Twitter at EPW Show, or you could join the Everything Pro Wrestling Facebook group. It's a private group. Just answer the questions and say you'll follow the rules. I'll approve you immediately, and you guys can see the thread in there and ask some questions in there as well. With that being said, this is for Conrad Cushman, my man Bryan Williams on the West Coast. We are out.
Everyday pro wrestling, they can never be you. Listen to the podcast for the people, the best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin, the opinions, the lesson, yes. By the fans, for the fans, not many in this can understand, this the podcast to show you who I am, Conrad Cushman, the legend in the plans, please listen every day to the showcase, the opinions and knowledge that anyone can take, showing you how it is done, proving I am number one, what a legend becomes. This is now my time to show you that I am here. This podcast just to make it loud and clear. By the fans, for the fans, not many who's here can understand everything pro wrestling, they can never be you. Listen to the podcast here for the people, the best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin, the opinion and the lesson, yes. Everyday pro wrestling, they can never be you. Listen to the podcast for the people, the best show that's here, so listen in. Let the knowledge begin, the opinions, the lesson, yes.